Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cate-Cast, an entertainment podcast. My name is Ezra, and I'm joined by
Ahmad, Sawyer,
Caleb.
So Caleb is our first returning guest.
Hello.
And really our only special guest so far.
Oh, we had Taylor.
We had Taylor. That's true. She was our first special guest. You're our only returning
number one
guest.
fan. Number one
fan. Still watching all the streams.
Yeah, so to break this down for people who's maybe this is their first episode, each of us has brought a topic from each of our three categories: movies, TV, and video games, and then we each have about 10 minutes to discuss those topics, and then at the end, whichever is our final topic for that week, whichever category's turn it is, we do a 30-minute / hour-long special. We pick one topic and just talk about that for the entirety of that category. So we're going to start with movies today, and we're going to start with Tron. So you brought this topic, but I think this is sort of a special topic for all of us. Yes. So say what you're going to say before we pipe in.
So Tron Legacy came out in 2010. It's the sequel to the original Tron from 1982. I was 10 years old when Tron Legacy came out, and I remember at first being wowed just by all the cool special effects and lights and color.
Yeah.
But digging into it, I actually think there's more to it than just cool special effects.
Oh, yeah.
Both films are great. The first one, special effects-wise, is dated by modern standards, but is still a really good film.
Yeah.
They probably some of the best material of live action that Disney's put out.
I think of the stuff I've seen, yeah.
And highly underrated. This series does not get enough credit.
Yeah,
so have you guys?
I think you're right.
Retweet.
Yeah.
So I really like a lot of sci-fi stuff that deals with like the cybernetic world. Discusses more of like what happens when humans go into the cybernetic world. And I like that they do an interesting thing with humans trying to bring things out of the cybernetic world and introduce them to humanity. I thought that was an interesting aspect of it. But I feel like the problem with the movie is that it's a relatively standard fish out of water story.
The first or second?
The second one.
Yeah.
It's a relatively standard fish out of water storyline if you want to take it at its most basic. Like, Sam doesn't know what's happening half of the movie. But it's got a terrific aesthetic, and it's got a great soundtrack too. And it has like a lot of heart, which I find lacking in a lot of movies with aesthetic. I find like usually movies that focus more on the look lose their soul, whereas Tron Legacy I thought maintained the soul of Tron, just with a lot of updates. Not everything's not white now; it's all dark and lit up by the colors, whereas like the colors were accents in the first Tron. Now the colors are really the only source of light.
Yeah.
And that was really
I really like how they addressed since in the real world computers have advanced and gotten better, so has the world of the grid. The grid has upgraded to a higher tech look as it naturally would, similar to how computers have upgraded since 82.
I tell you what, this is slightly off track. My favorite Journey song ever. I discovered it in Tron Legacy.
The arcade scene.
Scene.
That's where I got most of my. Like the second I saw the movie, I was like, let me go back and just search up all these songs.
Yeah, and Eurythmics' "Sweet Dreams."
Yes.
I had known that before, but I didn't know the name of the song. I had heard it before.
Yeah.
The way you described the film as sort of a more upgraded look is interesting. But I always saw it as it's the same look except it's revisualized and like reconceptualized into this sort of more three-dimensional. I guess kind of in a weird way, it's the same thing you're talking about. It's just a more updated look.
I mean, it just to go off of what you were saying, it definitely plays more on, like, it's definitely a sign of like how different aesthetics are nowadays, because back in the 80s when this stuff was being made, it was still a lot brighter. Mm-hmm. And even if you watch the Batman movie from the 80s, it's very bright compared to Dark Knight, BVS, all of those properties. Mm-hmm. And Tron Legacy is a lot darker, but I think that it fits the aesthetic of a computerized world a lot better.
You mentioned the aesthetic. I love now anytime I see a film that has sort of a neon palette to it, like Drive, for instance, or any of Riefenstahl's films, I love that sort of neon aesthetic. Also, the ending is not as bad as people think it is. I don't know.
Love the ending.
Yeah,
I have never heard anybody hating the ending.
Well, I've heard. Maybe I was just the people I grew up around, but
sorry.
I was gonna say the total domestic gross of the film is 172,000.
Yeah.
The production budget. $1 million. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
This is an independent film now. 172 million, and the production budget was 170 million. So
talk about Oscar bait.
Yeah. So it was. I guess it made back domestically. It made back around the same amount.
Yeah, I don't understand, because people talk about this movie really negatively, and that's something I don't understand, because it's not a bad movie.
No, it's
like
not.
I think there are reasons to criticize it.
There's minor
there are issues with the movie, but it's not a bad movie. Like, there are issues with my favorite movies, and it's not a bad movie, and I feel like people talk about it as like more of a failure than a success, and maybe it was a financial failure. According to Disney, it was.
Making back your money just in the United States is that's real failure.
Some scenes I want to highlight, though, scenes that sort of captured my imagination as a kid, is the disc war scene, battle scene, and also the obviously the light cycle scene. How they sort of reimagined the scene from the original one is pretty cool.
Yeah, the light cycle stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
And that soundtrack, that Daft Punk soundtrack is one of my favorite.
One of the best soundtracks.
Perfect.
I've listened to it working out.
Oh yeah.
I just listen to it just in the car.
Yeah, I listen to it all the time.
It's one of those soundtracks that kind of make the scene so much more better.
I think I mentioned this the last time I was here when I was playing Kingdom Hearts. I blasted that Tron soundtrack because it fits so well. Even though that was basing itself off of the first one. Yeah. I'm still going to do that when I get to the...
I mean, you mentioned it was a fish out of the water sort of story. But, I mean, in a way, a lot of stories nowadays are sort of kind of off of...
Yeah, I mean, that's like
older stories.
That's half of genre
and
fish out of water movies.
But I don't know, Jeff Bridges, that ending always gets me. Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, it's good.
And I have to say, what I really was surprised about and enjoyed was, despite it being a semi-reboot and taking place or coming out decades after the original one, it still finds a way to actually honor and include the original one as part of the story.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everything with Jeff Bridges and Clue and Tron.
The beginning is really cool.
The beginning, it all, and in fact with Alan Bradley, his character at the beginning, it still finds a way to include the original one rather than just saying we're going to reboot. It's really neat.
I thought the de-aging technology at the beginning was mind-blowing when I first
it was
at the time. It was
I never got my head around that. I was like, wait, does Jeff Bridges still look the same, or does he?
My kid self thought they filmed this 20 years ago, and they were like, we'll come back to it when he gets older. That was just my kid self. So like,
that's funny.
When I figured out it was de-aging tech, I was like,
I mean, I don't think it holds up as much now.
Yeah, it don't.
Have you seen it?
It does not hold up real well. It looks about the quality of like a later PS3 cutscene.
Yeah.
Nowadays. That being said, at the time, without the de-aging tech in this movie, you wouldn't have Ant-Man and the Wasp or Captain America: Civil War, that kind of stuff.
Star Wars stuff.
Star Wars stuff doesn't really fly.
Star
as well.
Wars. Oh yeah.
That one in
You're
Rogue
right.
One.
That was harsh.
It still
hard.
looks better than.
It looks a lot better in motion.
Mhm.
Like stills from it are tough.
Are we talking Tarkin? Or?
I was talking about Leia.
Oh yeah,
But-
she does not.
Tarkin and Leia. I mean,
Yeah.
Tarkin looks better, maybe.
Tarkin
From what I
looks-
remember.
Tarkin looks
Spoilers
better.
for Solo.
Oh, don't worry. We don't.
What
care
we
about
don't.
Solo.
I think
Okay.
we've all seen.
That's mainly for the
Yeah.
audience. Spoilers for.
Yeah,
the
that's why
audience.
I
I
mean,
mean, I haven't seen it. I don't care to see it.
They use sort of de-aging technology for Maul. So.
What do you mean aging tech? Because he would have been.
Well, yeah, it
older.
would be.
Yeah.
Well, they had to CGI him. In other words, they had to CGI him because they had two different actors playing him. They had Ray Park playing him, which is the original Darth Vader, and then they had the
VO
Sam
for
Witwer did the
Sen
voice.
Witwer for the voice.
Yeah, because he's
Because
the
he was-
VO in him for him and all the
Rebels,
TV stuff.
Which we
And
will
that would
address
make more
later in
sense.
the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So
For sure.
Yeah.
But getting back to Tron, you mentioned how critically hated this movie is.
yeah,
I just looked at the Rotten Tomato score and I am triggered. 51%.
It's got a
51%.
And on
That's
Metacritic, it's got a
annoying.
49.
Yeah, 49% on Metacritic.
that's really annoying. I kind of wish we had like a Tron Legacy detractor on.
Yeah.
Just because I want to pick their brains. Like, what's wrong with this movie?
Really, the
Because
only
it's
thing in the film that I noticed was kind of cheesy when at the beginning, spoilers for Tron Legacy, I guess, even though these aren't really spoilerific scenes.
Yeah.
The scene where after Sam just gets into the grid and he's getting picked up by that recognizer and he sees a guy with like a digital scar and then Sam looks like right at the camera with like a scared face.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was cheesy. That and then there's the Michael Sheen's character Castor / Zeus. He has two different names.
Oh, yeah.
When he does that whole thing in the bar and he's like strumming on like.
I like that so much.
I feel it, but I was like, it is. He hams it up for that
Let's
role.
be
see where
fair.
they're
The
cheesy,
movie
yeah.
is cheesy,
Yeah.
but it's not like a bad
fun,
cheesy.
yeah.
It's
It's
a
a
fun.
fun-
it's a
Actually,
fun
that scene
cheesy.
is like one of my favorite
Yeah,
scenes.
it's a good scene. I'm just saying, like, I can see why somebody would like that.
Oh
scene.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But overall, really, the only part I didn't like was his cheesy duh face into the camera when he gets picked up by that recognizer. Other than that, I can't really see anything that's really
Yeah.
particularly
Um,
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought. Sorry, just one last note. I thought Jeff Bridges' motorcycle,
Yeah.
whatever, was the white one. The all was always.
cool.
That is
Oh,
cool. That's a
yeah.
cool callback
Yeah.
to Tron, because like he didn't have a white light cycle in the original,
Yeah.
but he did. But like it's
It
a
was-
cool
yeah.
like bring back of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that was nice.
Interestingly enough, I'm surprised how big of an impact Tron has had on pop culture, despite there only being two movies and a TV show that ran for one season.
And a couple of video
Oh.
games.
Yeah, the video games though weren't. I mean, they weren't really story-based
No.
games. They were just kind of arcade games, and then
Mhm.
one game later. For the
There was
PS4.
the Tron Legacy game, and then there was the.
There's a Tron Legacy game. Because there was,
Yeah,
there
Yeah,
was,
I think there is.
Wait,
yeah.
no, there was
There was a-
Tron Evolution.
which is a tie-in
Oh,
game, but it
that's
took
a
place
tie-in.
before Legacy.
That's right. And then there was the new Tron Runner, which
Yeah,
is the
that's
Endless Runner game,
Yeah.
which is interesting. It has interesting mechanics.
Yeah. But yeah, the Tron, everything like is part of the Tron franchise. There really isn't anything bad. Like the first one is dated by modern standards, but it's not bad. It's just a
It's
little
fun to
dated.
watch, kind of.
They,
I've only seen clips of the first one, so I haven't
Yeah.
actually.
The first one's all right. It's kind of hard to get through.
That's
Um,
why I haven't.
My
watched
dad
it.
and I watched it to then go watch Tron Legacy.
Mhm.
It's
Which I should have done, but also on the same hand, I shouldn't. Like I'm glad that I did what I did, like just going in blind,
yeah
because was I blown away?
yeah.
If I had seen the first one, I don't think I would have been blown away. As
They
I was.
realized the world in the second one.
Yeah.
Amazingly. I'm excited to hear what you think of Tron Legacy in Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah.
Just to
That'll
my
probably be
little Kingdom Hearts
post break.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah. So let's move on. Ahmad, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I'm
I know
gonna try to
nothing
be-
about this movie.
Well, I mean, I'm going to
Me
try to be
neither.
brief, a little brief. I hadn't realized how much Jack Nicholson was. I hadn't realized what a great actor he is.
Uh-huh.
What movie? Oh, I saw The Shining over the summer for the first time.
Uh-huh.
I had seen him in the Batman films from the 90s. He was the Joker. But this film, sorry, you've seen this film?
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's based on a book that is kind of similar to the film, but not really. It's told in Chief's perspective, if you've seen it. It's a film about mental illness, which is really good. And I wanted to pull up the gross and how much it made. So the film's production budget was $3 million, but it grossed $108 million. That's crazy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And luckily, despite the massive box office, did not get a sequel, because a sequel would have ruined the
Oh
end
no!
of this movie.
Yeah, the sequel would have ruined it for sure. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, I'm gonna keep it brief a little.
I would mention here that the, I guess, not really villain, but antagonist, Nurse Ratched, is one of the most hated film characters of all time.
Oh,
I hated.
I don't know, because here's the
not
thing.
in terms of like acting. She does a really good job.
She does a really good job.
The character is just so infuriating.
She is, but I just didn't want to spoil it for you. I was shocked. I was genuinely. I mean, it was frustrating and also really saddening at what happened at the end.
The film is extremely sad.
Yeah.
It's also kind of hopeful at the ending.
Yeah,
but also
it is.
sad.
I love how they tie it back into from the very beginning.
It's also the fact that it kind of alludes to the book too.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's kind of a transition with you start to see a little bit more sort of. I don't know if you guys. I saw a video a while ago about villains, and the villains in this. The villain in this one is kind of more of an institutionalized one, instead of rather being like a communist sort of white versus black thing. So like, I thought it was interesting that.
Especially when most films at the time, the 70s, most of the time it was some kind of external foreign force. This is just something that someone who was usually supposed to be somebody helpful.
It turns out to be somewhat corrupt in a way.
And Jack Nicholson's great.
Oh yeah.
The film itself, it doesn't seem to have aged necessarily, like aesthetically.
Oh no.
It like the costumes and the setting are very much reminiscent of a different time. But overall, the story and visually, it does not age.
It doesn't age. I mean, he won an Academy Award for this film as well, and it's fun watching him act, and he's really good at being.
Jack Nicholson is just amazing.
I mean, he's really good at being angry. Really, sort of. You can never get a gauge on his character. Sometimes he's at one moment he's really cool and collected, and the next scene he could be exploding.
He's one of those actors that you see him on screen, you become so elevated by his performance that you want to look at every single movement he does.
Oh yeah.
And I can't say that a lot about a lot of actors and actresses.
Yeah.
And I've seen
the only other actor I can think of is Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like I want to analyze every movement.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like Heath Ledger was inspired by and a lot of his films.
My thing is, I do like Heath Ledger's Joker more.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen enough of Heath Ledger's work outside of the Joker.
I think you're right about that.
And I'm talking as a film.
Yeah, just as
performances in all his repertoire. English.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, in all his work.
Sorry, would you say he acts the same way in every film? Nicholson.
I wouldn't say Nicholson's acts the same. He certainly has ones that are similar. But like for example his Shining role, then his Joker are not exactly that
similar.
Differentiated.
But he does have a similar acting. Like The Departed.
Oh yeah, The Departed. I would say he has a similar acting style or acting technique, I guess.
But like a lot of actors have like things that they excel at, and then they can go off and do
off of that.
Like DiCaprio does romance well, but he Revenant, Inception, Wolf of Wall Street, like he's a diverse actor, but he does excel at certain things. So
I want to mention a role that I just remembered that's different from his other roles is his role in Easy Rider. He's different. He's not as I guess angry. Have you seen Easy Rider?
I've seen like 5 minutes tops.
He's not sort of a fuming guy. He doesn't get as pissed, but he's a good actor.
This might cause a controversy, but I would also think one of those actors that are very awesome to watch is Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
I think Tom
I like
Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
If you look at his career
Doesn't like Tom Hanks.
Yes,
overall, and you look from the movies that he was in from the beginning to Castaway to Forrest Gump to
Toy Story.
Castaway. Yeah.
Toy Story, Bridge of Spies.
Captain Phillips.
You could see just
The Post recently was really good.
the Post.
He's just one of those actors who are just like
He could play anything.
Really,
Yeah.
you can't really dispute it.
And his roles have certainly grown because his early stuff. I mean, he's grown from just being like romantic comedies or like cheesy goofball comedies into a serious dramatic actor.
Yeah.
He's basically America's dad.
Yeah.
He is.
Oh yeah.
He is the new America's dad.
Meryl Streep's good too. It's just sometimes
for me it's Tom Hanks all the way.
Yeah. I
You see, the turning point for me was this film Philadelphia, which was very different. That was a turning point in his
What year
career.
did
I
that
think.
come out?
We'll check.
1993. That's why I was.
When did Castaway come out?
2000. 2001.
Okay.
Possibly 2000. No, actually not 2000.
Sounds about right.
Castaway was
Maybe 1999.
What about Gump?
Forrest Gump.
Oh,
is
94.
90s.
94. So Philadelphia was a turning point in his career. That's a film that's a little bit more. 2000 is when Castaway came out.
I would say Philadelphia might be the one that changed his career. I think the one that would be
took it off.
most impactful of changing his career
Oh,
is
it's definitely
probably
Castaway.
I would say Forrest Gump.
I mean, Forrest Gump is like probably his most famous.
No,
but,
Forrest Gump.
but Castaway is like his.
Yeah.
Like he stakes the claim of that character.
Yeah.
Like nobody else can do that.
All right,
Yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, a film about
Yes.
what does it mean to be really
Jack
what does it
Nicholson.
mean to be mentally ill. He's a really good actor, and I love there's a specific scene where he's like I could do anything I want because I'm labeled as mentally ill, so I could steal this boat in one of the scenes. He does steal a boat, and it really just
and you get a younger Danny DeVito.
oh yeah, Danny DeVito, as well as the dude who was his name always slips my mind. Back to the Future was he's
Michael J. Fox?
No, the mad scientist.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah,
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, I could have looked it up, but I just wanted to see how good we are.
Okay.
Sorry, but yeah.
It's a really good film. It's not for people who don't like sad movies.
Oh yeah.
But there is some moments of comedy in it, and I think AFI has it in their top 100 films, and I definitely think it belongs there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it.
All right. So we're gonna degrade ourselves in quality a little bit and talk about Fantastic Beasts. I'll talk about a little bit about the second one, but I don't want to spoil it. We'll talk about the first one primarily. The highlight of the movie for me is Eddie Redmayne, all the way.
In two or one?
In both of them,
Oh,
but
okay.
in one definitely. Like he is the best part of that movie, hands down, for me.
He's really
That's fine.
the only reason why I kept watching, because I'm going to be honest. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm a major Harry Potter fan.
Oh yeah,
I grew up on those movies and those books.
Me
I've
too.
watched them so many times.
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts, for me, just doesn't have the spark that the Harry Potters did. Like, those movies, they felt magical while at the same time serious, characters that I cared about and related to. These movies feel like they exist solely so that we need another thing in the Harry Potter universe for money. And the characters outside of Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, I don't really have any characters I'm attached to. All the other characters just feel like they're there because they're characters.
Yeah.
They don't feel like people.
See, for me, as long as the focus stays on Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, as long as it stays on him and then it highlights the other great performances in the series, I'm cool with whatever else they have. That's basically my perspective.
The best
on
way
this.
Okay. The best way I would describe, at least the first Fantastic Beasts, because I haven't seen the second one. I would describe this as a great movie if it's not a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah,
Like,
you do have to detach Harry
You
Potter
have
from
to
it.
you have to stop. Like, you cannot think this is a
Yeah.
Harry Potter movie, and then it's a good film. But I shouldn't say great film, but it's a good film.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
One of the things that there's actually two performances, and I might disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
I think that should be worth noting, at least in the first one. I liked Colin Farrell's performance.
I liked him too. He just wasn't the highlight of the movie.
Okay. And then I don't know the actor's name or even the character's name, but because I've only seen the movie once.
Credence?
No, not Ezra Miller.
Not Ezra Miller. Tina?
Played by Catherine Waterston.
No,
Kowalski?
Kowalski. There we go. Well,
The American guy.
Yeah. The Muggle that tags along.
The nomad.
Yeah.
As Americans,
Yes.
Americans, now we have to call them nomads, which is weird, but yeah, we're not gonna. I think we should start like a Harry Potter fan movement. That if you're American, now you have to call them.
No, you gotta call them nomads.
I think I'm okay with that idea. Anyways,
I don't know. I'm so ingrained to say Muggle.
For me, the film, like, the characters, they weren't anything particularly bad about it.
yeah,
And I get what you were saying. You don't want to attach it to Harry Potter, but the film, the series as a whole feels unfocused. Because now we've got the Crimes of Grindelwald out. Feels like this first one was a nice, neat little start about like something that was, it's in the Harry Potter universe, but it's not necessarily tied to it. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And then they sort of did what the Hobbit movies did, and they got to keep tying everything in the later installments. Crimes of Grindelwald doesn't even, at least from the trailers, I haven't seen the movie yet, seems like just what is essentially a Harry Potter prequel that they somehow shoehorned inside of a Fantastic Beasts movie.
Yeah.
I wish they would have made a real Fantastic Beasts sequel and just made the Crimes of Grindelwald and just dropped the Fantastic Beasts part.
Yeah.
Just call it the Crimes of Grindelwald, and then people will just say, in the trailers, just say, hey, it's in the Potter universe. Like, I think they just should have done that.
Because that's what they did with the first Fantastic Beasts. They said, it's in the Potterverse.
And the fan base for Harry Potter is already so huge as it is that they'll already go and see it.
they don't.
In the trailer.
People are gonna watch Harry Potter movies for the Harry Potter stuff. Like it doesn't. You're not watching it. Like, I think the Fantastic Beasts movies don't work. Like, it doesn't have an audience outside of the Harry Potter audience.
Like, I dislike the fact that, like, it feels unfocused. It feels like it exists simply for cash. It doesn't feel like people were actually saying, this is a story I want to tell. That being said, my last grievance with the movie is I don't like Ezra Miller. So
that's why I was like, no, not Ezra Miller.
Yeah, like, I didn't like him as the Flash. I don't like him as Credence.
Yeah.
I don't.
I agree.
I don't like him.
I don't mind him. I thought he was the best part of Justice League.
Oh yeah. Well,
out of the most mediocre film in the DC universe.
Yeah, but him and Cyborg are great.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in that film.
For me, the best part of if there is a best part of Justice League, it's Henry Cavill, all the way.
I don't think anybody in that film was miscasted. Honestly, it was just the script.
Yeah,
I was fine with everybody.
Yeah, the script was really bad.
Aquaman was okay. I mean,
anyways, we've gone down this rabbit hole before. I don't mind Ezra Miller. I thought he was good in Fantastic Beasts.
I don't know how he is in this second one, because I guess he's bad.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
So the second one, I'll just say you have to watch it for the performances. If you're not watching it for the performances, you're not gonna like the movie.
Sounds like Venom.
Yes.
That's something there.
But Jude Law as Dumbledore is great. You don't actually get as much of him as is advertised. You only get. He probably has like 10 minutes of screen time.
Wow.
Is that right? No, that's more than that. He's got at least 20 minutes of screen time. Something like that. He doesn't have as much screen time as you are led to believe by the trailers.
So we can't even judge him, sort of like kind of how... Okay, this is going to cause controversy amongst us three.
Okay.
Us four. So kind of how, like, you can't judge Jared Leto's performance as the Joker, because he's so.
I haven't seen Suicide Squad, so
Okay.
I would agree with you on that. I think out of all the problems that I have with Suicide Squad, that's ironically not one of the major problems that I have.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was anywhere near the worst part of that film.
No.
I think really the biggest villain of that movie is the script. But
Mhm.
But anyways, Jude Law's young Dumbledore is great. The
Johnny Depp.
climax of the scene, Johnny Depp, or the climax of Grindelwald, Johnny Depp kills it. It is like one of my favorite performances in Harry Potter.
Now, do people?
Oh,
I don't know,
period.
is this so?
And then, sorry.
Are people good or okay with Johnny Depp being in?
No.
Because
I'm barely okay with Johnny Depp being in this movie.
There's a huge divide.
Yeah. It's a pretty big divide, and all I have to say is, like, it's sad that he gets being cast in movies, but it's like, what are you going to do at this point?
He was casted before the controversy.
Yeah.
I think they just want to keep genuine. But then again, you've also replaced actors before.
Well, they
in
were
the Harry
also
Potter
already
movies.
shooting at the time, and
That's true.
the
Yeah.
cost of going back and redoing
Yeah,
all that.
I was talking about this with my dad before we saw the movie. That probably he has a contract to do the rest of these movies because we're getting more Fantastic Beasts movies. There's no way we're not. That's a lot of movies, and I don't know how they're gonna do all of those movies. But anyways, he has a contract, and it's probably much harder for WB to get out of that contract than it is for him to get out of that contract. And he stands to lose nothing from doing these movies. So he's not going to get out of the contract, and WB is practically has their hands tied at this point. So
also, clearly, if the box office movie is anything to show, they're not going to want to spend the time or the money to do it because I mean it's already making the money.
So I don't know. But anyways, Johnny Depp, it sort of saddens me, but he does a fantastic job.
I mean, I don't dislike Johnny Depp.
Yeah, but if he did bad things, then like should he keep getting work? That's the crux of the argument here.
And if we're addressing that argument, you also got to look at every single other person in Hollywood, and if we did, there wouldn't exactly be a lot of people acting if we went off of.
Maybe.
So the production budget for the film, just to give you guys a little perspective.
Yeah, let's move into.
I was actually
how much
going to
it made,
ask because I don't think it made much.
Well, here's the thing. So the production budget was
it did underperform.
200 million. Right now, domestically in America, 120 million.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. The foreign domestic gross is 322 million. So an overall gross of 442 million.
Yeah, I mean it's going to make its money back.
So it's made its money back, but domestically, it's not
as
popular.
It's domestically underperformed.
Also, this is almost a week since the film's been out, so it's still got time to.
Yeah, it's got. Yeah, I mean, it's already made its money back. It's just not. It's underperforming compared to.
Isn't this a franchise low?
What?
Is it the franchise low?
I think so.
I think I heard
Do
about
the
that.
films usually make more outside of America than?
Well, I mean,
with mostly any film, yeah.
Well,
I mean, there are so many more countries than America than.
And once you take into account solely just China and UK alone are going to make.
I mean, like with the Harry Potter series. Specifically. I mean,
like again, UK Harry Potter's going to make a ton there.
Oh, yeah.
So I think. Who knows? Maybe they recast Johnny Depp. I'd be okay with that if we get somebody else. I think there are plenty of people who could play that role just as well as he does.
I just hate recastings. Unless I don't like recastings unless the actor or actress dies. That's the only time I'm ever really okay with a recasting.
Yeah,
and I honestly just don't understand why this is a series. Like, I mean,
me too, because the first one kind of wrapped it all up in a bow.
The first one wrapped it up.
Well, but because we have Eddie Redmayne and he's willing to just keep doing Harry Potter movies.
Right, yeah.
Because have you seen the interviews with him? Because he is like one of the most excited people about this whole thing I've ever seen. Like, he's probably it's like him and Ezra Miller are just having the time of their lives.
Yeah,
and so it's like there's no. Like, I think as long as WB keeps making money and as long as Eddie Redmayne is happy, which he seems to be, I think they're going to just keep doing this.
Eddie
for
Redmayne
eternity.
is so good that he's really one of the only reasons why I'm still watching these movies.
Yeah.
It's because of my Harry Potter nostalgia and the fact that Eddie Redmayne is so good.
Yeah, and I will say he shares one of my favorite romantic moments in anything ever
In film?
in Crimes of Grindelwald. I'm not even kidding. Like his romantic moment in that movie is incredible. Like the performance of that is so good.
You know what I'm actually very excited for? This is on Eddie Redmayne, is the Theory of Everything. That's going to be put on Netflix next month.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so
That's
I'm very
exciting.
excited
I've
to
seen it.
see
It's really good.
because I know that's a great romance story.
And he won the Oscar for that.
He won,
so,
he won 2 Oscars. Wow.
Yeah,
Actually, no, he's won 1.
He's one of my favorite people right now, especially after seeing him as Newt Scamander. He his performance in those movies is top notch.
I think he's usually one of the best actors working right now.
And I just want to say a bit of a hot take here. I personally think that J.K. Rowling is starting to become another George Lucas.
Oh yeah, she's we were talking about this. She's the George Lucas of novels.
Yeah, she's essentially doing the thing George Lucas has done. He did with the prequels, which honestly I liken the Fantastic Beasts movies to the prequels. And I also think that she's like, I don't like when you go back and change retroactively things that were not set up. So like, I'm okay if you go back and make prequels. I think that's fine. I don't like when it changes the core things. Like, she could say all she wanted. That's what she had in mind when she was writing stuff. If it wasn't implied or explicitly stated in any of the movies or the books, there's no need to change it. I think that she's so obsessed with going back and saying, oh, well, actually it's this way, or this thing was in the background.
This person is that thing.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I will say,
leave it the way it was.
I will say, this isn't a spoiler, the thing with Nagini in Crimes of Grindelwald is weirdly shoehorned, and it's it's okay if this. I don't have a problem with like this character as she is portrayed. I have an issue with it being Nagini, because Nagini is just Voldemort's snake,
right?
Like that's just how and also she's a Horcrux.
And
that's the only thing about Nagini. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to have Nagini in Fantastic Beasts. Like, I'm okay with the rest of the Harry Potter world being in Fantastic Beasts. Like, that's cool. I'm fine with that. But it's like you're gonna go so far as to put Voldemort's snake in as Nagini. That's weird. That's going way too far down the rabbit hole.
And I do want to mention. I mean, this isn't really a spoiler, but I do want to mention my dislike of this is not because of the fact that they've made Dumbledore gay. I don't mind that at all. My dislike with the situation is the fact that it feels completely forced.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, well, because it's well known how J.K. Rowling is an activist. It feels like she's doing it just because she didn't write any characters for that. Yeah. And it just, I don't like how everything is so forced.
So, well, she did say over a long period of time during when
she was writing the books.
Yeah, when she was writing the books that he was gay.
I was under the impression she didn't state that until the books were already out.
I think that was what happened.
I think it was actually all the movies were already out.
Yeah, the movies were. Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most one of the weirdest things about that is he's gay, and it's just so forced.
Yeah, it's like she's just making it happen just so she can say her series is progressive. And that's the thing that I dislike is it's all of the things related to Fantastic Beasts feel like they're just she can't really write. It's all with the Nagini thing and the stuff with Dumbledore. It's just we gotta.
It's all self-referential.
It's all self-referential. It's fan service. That's really what it is. You're paying $10 for a ticket to see fan service,
which it's good fan service.
Yeah. This is the same thing that George Lucas has did. It's like, oh, we got to make sure 3PO is built by Anakin Skywalker, who happens to become Vader, and R2's got to be in every single movie.
I was more okay with that though.
Well, I'm just saying it's unnecessary.
The thing that gets me is how he wipes his memory at the end, and I was like, why did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's like a throwaway line. You blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
You can't really blink with your ears, but in any case. like, it's such a throwaway line, but if you miss it, you don't understand why they don't know about them in A New Hope. And it's still a really stupid reason. R2 does, but it's still a really stupid reason for 3PO not to.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we've gone 20 minutes on Fantastic Beasts.
Have we really? Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's I still think Crimes of Grindelwald is really, like, for me, was really good. You just have to go into it for the performances. It's never going to be Harry Potter. It's never going to be Harry Potter, and you have to go into it for the performances, or you're watching the wrong movie.
Yep.
Don't expect anything particularly great about the plot, the setting, the storyline in general. If you go in for the performances, you're gonna come out satisfied, but you have to do it for that, not anything else. So let's move on to TV. Caleb, you've been wanting to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a very long time now.
For a very long time. When you first mentioned trying to get me on the show, I was like, I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about. But before I start, I want to know, what's your three's opinion of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
So, what I've seen. So, apparently I've seen, like, through the first, like, 5 episodes of season 4 is where I think I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
The first, I think, 15 episodes of season 1 are all right. They're just not that good. The rest of season 1 is really good. Season 2 is pretty good as well. Season 3 I liked, and the first half of season 4 I thought was more of the same, which was okay. I will say I didn't like how they kept doing the double cross thing with Agent Ward. I didn't like that very much. Like, I wanted him to like have a redemption arc, and he never really did. I did like what they did with him in the Parasite arc. I thought that was
Hive.
Hive arc. I thought that was good because it let what's his name, whatever his name is, it let him flex his muscles a little bit, and he got to play like a genuine villain.
Brett Dalton, I think his name is.
Brett Dalton. It let him flex his muscles and actually play a legit villain, which I thought he did a good job at. And Clark Gregg is great. He's basically the highlight of that show for me.
I haven't seen the show, so I can't say.
Okay.
I really don't have an opinion. However, I am going to get to it. I will need your recommendation as to what I should watch. Obviously, the first season. I don't know if any other seasons are.
You gotta watch it in order.
So
you gotta watch it in order.
Don't watch it before you watch the Marvel Netflix stuff.
Yeah. You could. What you could do is.
What?
Skip a couple. Well, no, you can't. You can't skip it because
you can't skip it
because of season 5. I won't say what they do, but I will, but I'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So, I thought the first season was rough. I remember watching it after my Avengers hype. It's not particularly bad. It's just I think it's grown significantly in quality over time. I don't think it's nearly anywhere near as good as the Netflix
It's exactly the same as the show I will never talk about on this podcast, Star Trek The Next Generation. The first season of that is also pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's basically the same evolution in my eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've liked most of it. I thought in the first season, particularly Chloe Bennett's acting was very subpar. I think the weakest part of the show is it having to adhere to the MCU. I think if it freed itself from the MCU, it could potentially stay a little bit more...
You're probably right about that.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I don't really understand also what the core concept of the show still is. Because it started out as, these are some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, they're doing S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. Cool. That's it for the Avengers. After Winter Soldier comes out, that concept changes, and it seems like each season it's like, are we rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D? Are we just being agents? Now we're in space. Now, granted, I haven't watched past the first half of season 4, so I'm not quite sure how that all goes. But it just, I liked the shows. I liked a majority of the characters. It just felt very disjointed, I guess.
Okay.
Alrighty, so I'm just about to refute all your claims right now. But before I actually... Okay, so for me, season 1, I was still on my Avengers / Iron Man 3 high. Because I actually like Iron Man 3. Yeah. But
Iron Man 3's good. Anyways.
I was watching the show because I knew it was connected to MCU, and then obviously Coulson. I loved Coulson.
I like the advertising for it, like Coulson lives.
So that's why I watched the show, specifically for that. And season 1, I just watched it for pretty much Coulson and his evolution and why is he alive?
Yeah.
And
that never gets answered until season 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a great scene.
Right.
Where he realizes that. That's a fantastic
Oh my
scene.
gosh, great scene.
Him in the car with the scientists.
Yeah.
It's definitely a highlight of the show for me is when that scene happened, because it's like, wow, this is something I'd never expected this.
Yeah. I got so much to say in so little time. And I remember I went and saw Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
And when they had done that tie-in episode, it was just a pretty much kind of like a throwaway scene.
Yeah.
To just tie it in, and then like a somewhat connected arc of an episode, one full episode of a Villain of the Week episode. When they were doing that.
Yeah.
And that one kind of felt throwaway, but I still watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And by the time mid-season finale hit, it was pretty strong. Like, I felt like that was a strong mid-season finale, that it hooks me to keep going.
Yeah.
And as I was watching this, and we get to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and I remember going to see Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It's my favorite Marvel movie.
Everybody's favorite Marvel movie.
And I remember just sitting in the theaters, just shocked. And I'm just like, as it ended, I'm like,
what does this mean?
What does this mean for S.H.I.E.L.D?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you guys did it. You've been leading up this whole entire season to that moment. And I'm like, I gotta watch it. You know what I mean? I gotta watch next week.
So I have a question. Does watching the show did it make the film Winter Soldier better?
Yes.
Okay.
For me.
Okay, because I haven't seen the show, and Winter Soldier, I mean, it's still a good film. Yeah. It's not my favorite Marvel film, but it's still one of the better ones.
I don't think it enhances... I think watching the film enhances the show more than watching the show enhances the film.
So
True.
Watching the film enhances, okay.
So I would recommend, I think it's episode 17. If you get to episode 17 on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The last scene.
Season 1?
Is it the last scene?
I think that's
Are we talking about the airplane scene? Where Ward is on the airplane?
But no, but it's before that. It's before that because they mention Hydra and all that stuff throughout the episode. Because that whole entire episode is based on who's who. Like, are you Hydra? So that's the episode
17.
That's the episode where things start to go down.
Yeah. The last scene of that episode is
Ward.
Is Ward.
Spoilers, yeah. But
that's a great scene too.
Yeah. So you get to season 2. I thought season 2 was great. This is where I started to watch the show not just for Coulson, but for actually Fitz. Indy Caster's performance is just amazing in that season. Yeah. And it was just, I saw him for the first time, what an amazing actor he is.
Yeah.
And Chloe Bennett's acting in that season
improves.
I will say this, first season was rough there.
Yeah.
It was rough.
The entire cast has a rough time in that season.
Yeah.
Except for Coulson.
Except for Coulson. But he's already coming to his
role. Except for I would say Fitz.
I mean, Fitzsimmons was good, but
their writing for that season was just, we need them to stay two-dimensional until we get to this point.
Yeah, we needed like the quippy
right
brother sister sort of
and
dynamic.
As soon as that point happened, like with the whole ward thing, that's when
it's a turning point for sure.
That scene in the water is just it's a great scene.
It's
that's how they got the role, because when they auditioned that scene. That was the scene they did, and that's how they got casted.
They the first season you're never really given, until that scene, you're never really given a chance to care about Fitzsimmons. Like, you don't actually care about anything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a scene where like she jumps out of the helicarrier.
Oh yeah,
and it's like you don't really care, and then Ward saves her, and Coulson says that we'd hate to lose you, and you still don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, after the water scene, thumbs up. They're one of the best parts of the show after that point.
And then season 3, I liked some parts of season 3. Season 3 still carried a lot of the tone of the second season, but I actually did not like the Inhumans arc in season 3. I thought it was too focused on the Inhumans, and this is where you were getting the point of, like, I'm not sure where the direction of the show's going.
Yeah, because we were supposed to get the movie at that point.
Right, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was, also with the Ward thing, so I understand I had those complaints too, And we get to season 4. And so this is where I'm sad that you guys you guys started it but never finished it. Season 4 is tied with season 5, in my opinion, as one of the best TV seasons in general.
Really?
Yeah.
Better than Arrow seasons 2 and 5? Or not?
I would make the equivalent that,
Wow, really?
I would probably say that. But that's probably just because I'm such a big fan of the series.
That's impressive.
Season 4 does this great thing where it does a 3-part story. You get the Ghost Rider story, which you guys started on.
Yeah.
Which was a great story in general of just how dark it gets, because it's so different.
Sure.
And that's because they had a new time, which really fit. I was actually really sad that they switched it in season 5 back to 9 o'clock, but it still was pretty dark then. But and then you had the LMD arc, which I guess is the weakest of the 3,
but still good.
Yeah, but still good. And the LMD arc is what carries over into the 3rd part of the story, where one of the best villain portrayals and in general is Ada as an LMD, and her whole entire goal of the season, which connects it all, is because in the first part of the season, she's helping S.H.I.E.L.D. In the second part, if I remember correctly, I think she's figuring out who she is. And then once you get to the 3rd arc, she wants to become human. So she makes everyone be cybernetic. Yeah.
Like she traps them in like a digital world?
Yeah, it traps them in a digital world where Hydra won in Captain America the Winter Soldier. So it's a what if storyline.
That's cool.
And it has like Fitzsimmons. It has Fitz as the villain.
That's cool.
And he's in love with Ada, or as Madam Hydra in that part of the show.
That's cool.
And this is what I was talking about before we started. Watch Mojo. put her as an honorable mention in their top 10 list, and I have a
Top 10 like Marvel villains.
Marvel villains that are justifiable in their reasons, and they put in some villains that I thought were like over
questionable.
Yeah, and also they put Thanos like at 9 or 8. It was more towards the back, and they put. It was just all mixed up.
Thanos isn't a villain that you feel has justifiable goals. The reason he's so good is that you understand him.
Right, yeah. Well, the title is not what the actual list is. It's more of the list is, like, understandable.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, then he should be number 1 on that list.
They had Magneto as number 1, which is okay.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I thought Ada deserved to be on that list. Wilson Fisk is on there at 8 or 7.
Why is he 8? He should be like 3. It should be Magneto, Thanos. Fisk.
Exactly. That's exactly what my list was. So I was so shocked to see it different.
So I have to ask with the show before I forget here. So how does this differentiate itself, or I guess rank with the other Marvel-based shows? Not just talking Netflix, but like your Inhumans, Agent Carter, Runaways, all that stuff.
It's better than Agent Carter.
It's better than Agent Carter, even though I loved Agent Carter. I actually loved.
It's not bad.
I didn't like the second season as much.
No, I didn't like how it was on a cliffhanger either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was rough.
It's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the Mona Lisa to Inhumans.
Inhumans,
oh my gosh. I try to forget Inhumans ever existed. And then Runaways I actually haven't seen. Cloak and Dagger, though, is probably the equivalent to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Like, it's as good as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
That's surprising.
Have you seen Cloak and Dagger?
Cloak and Dagger is like the kind of show, like the kind of Marvel property that I want as a show.
I'll have to check it out.
I need to watch
I've heard it's interesting.
Yeah, it's super good.
Have you watched Runaways?
Isn't it only
I haven't
on
watched
Freeform?
Yeah, I need to watch
have it.
Yeah.
I have it on Hulu.
Yeah.
I just haven't had the time to watch it this semester.
Season 2 drops next month.
Yeah. So I'll be caught up,
Yeah,
once
it looks good.
But obviously, I'm guessing the Netflix shows are still probably above this. Like your
the
Daredevil.
Netflix shows probably outdo it.
I would say Daredevil is still better, but in terms of enjoyment and how much I'm invested in it, it trumps all the other shows.
Have you seen Iron Fist season 2?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just gonna ignore the best
For
season
me-
2 of Marvel Netflix.
For me, it's a tall order for anything to be able to beat Daredevil season 1.
Oh yeah, there's no way that
So
that is a perfect
in regards
season.
to story, like telling the story, because I know Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is more.
So this was where I was going to get to season 5. Season 5 was meant to be the final season. So
and then they renewed it.
They wanted to, it wasn't meant to be the final season. They just felt like it was going to be the final season.
So the ratings were.
They wrote it as the final.
They wrote it as the final season. So what they did was they took all the plot holes of season 1 and they put it into a story, like the Gravitonium.
I don't
it's
remember
like
season
one.
all that
It's
well.
one episode of arc, and they made that into the whole season, and they made. So they're in the future, and it's about them trying to get back into the future in season 5.
You mean back to
the present?
Yeah.
And when they get back to the present, they want to avoid the future as much as possible, the end of the world. And in this scenario, everybody thinks Daisy is
the one who ends the world.
Is the one who ends the world because of her earthquake powers.
Yeah.
And because the Earth is completely destroyed. But it's technically Graviton think that's his name, or General
Talbot.
Yeah. So he's the main villain of season 5.
Oh, okay.
And he wants to become powerful to defeat Thanos.
Because Talbot knows about Thanos?
Yes. At that point,
Really?
he becomes corrupted with power. Because he just wants more power with the gravitonium. He literally has gravitonium powers, and he's that's his motivation. And it's about how this incident that the whole season leads up to, how Daisy is blamed for the end of the world because of it, because she uses her powers against graviton.
Okay.
And it's just a great way of, like, they were wrapping up all the story arcs of all the seasons.
That's cool.
And with great callbacks. Because they had its 100th episode that season.
Cool.
So that really helped wrapping things up into a bow into that. And it's just a great show. And then Chloe Bennett, say what you say about her first 2 seasons, she improved phenomenally from that point, because now I just watch the show not even for Coulson, but for Chloe Bennett and Ian DeCastiger, because Coulson is, I guess, I don't think he's in season 6 or 7. They might bring him back. He's directing the first episode of season 6, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So he's not done with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just, I don't know if his character is coming back for a while. It might come back later on in season 6. They might pull an Arrow where
he's just delayed for a little while.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I do watch the show not for Coulson anymore, and I think that shows how
That's
great
a
of
triumph.
how great of a show it's progressed to that point.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not Agent Coulson.
That's cool.
2 last things I want to mention.
Mhm.
One is, you're thinking about plot holes that wrapped up from season 1. Do they ever wrap up what's his face who got sucked into the gravitonium?
Yep, that's the gravitonium. Yep.
That, and do they ever address the kid with the weapon powers from season 1?
I do not think they do it in 5. I think they do it in 4.
4. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So and the last bit I wanted to mention was I was looking on IMDb. Apparently, double checked it. Seasons 6 and 7 are going to have a shortened episode.
Yep.
Yeah. So instead of
that's good.
22, they're going to have 13.
And it's going to be in the summer next year.
Conveniently, right after whatever
Conveniently.
Avengers 4 is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they probably did that just to avoid
Having
the
to
snap.
deal with Avengers 4.
That, and I also
Infinity War,
saw on
probably.
here
Infinity War.
said somebody, I think his name is Charles, some ABC, or maybe it's a producer on the show, I don't know, said by putting it in the summer we feel we can super serve the show's audience and possibly have it on the air longer, in part because ABC's live same day ratings are less important in the summer season. So meaning, if they're airing in the summer, their numbers they get at premiere are not going to be as important, and so therefore they can probably not get it canceled. Because
That's smart.
Their live viewers have been decreasing over time.
The other theory is that they're just stalling to put it on the Disney streaming service.
Probably.
I forget what I was going to say. I remembered. They didn't do it in season 4. I think it's in season 2, actually. He comes back, and he dies. They killed him
Other
off.
kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
They killed him off. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it was only one episode.
Yeah, it was only one episode, and he came back.
So,
also, great actor.
Is that the guy from 13 Reasons
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
13 Reasons Why.
So we probably
We-
need the next
we've
topic.
talked
Yeah.
about-
Sorry, I knew I
so-
warned you guys. It would be.
So I'm gonna give Ahmad and Sire a choice here. Do we want? Because we're gonna cut one of these. So do you want to talk about Star Wars TV more, or do you want to talk about Teen Titans more?
I know what I want to talk about, but Ahmad, which one? Because we have talked about Teen Titans on the show before.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here looking at the Clone Wars.
All right, let's do Star Wars TV
I'm
then.
down
Okay.
with some Star Wars.
Well, if you are interested in hearing about Teen Titans, there is a previous episode where we mentioned that.
So
I think it's episode 2 or 3.
wow,
Yeah.
look at you.
I'm a super fan now.
Our biggest fan.
Super fan.
So, okay. So I want to start off the Star Wars television discussion with basically saying, I'll ask you guys, how much of Star Wars TV, that being said, anything that's not a video game and is not one of the episodic movies or Rogue One and Solo?
So I have
And the Christmas
seen.
special. Would that
Well,
count?
that's TV.
Would that count
That's
as a
TV.
So I've seen all of the movies, all of the live action movies at this point, except
Theatrically released.
all of the theatrically released live action Star Wars movies. I've seen those. I have not seen, at least not in a while, but I don't think I've seen anyways, the original Clone Wars, like the 2D animated one. I've seen the Clone Wars movie, and I've seen every season of Clone Wars with the caveat that there are a bunch of arcs, because I watched the series while I was, when I broke my hip for the first time, for the first time. When I broke my hip, after the surgery, it was a pretty long recovery, so I watched the series during that, and I definitely fell asleep once or twice while I watched it. So,
Mine has his jaw dropped.
it was great, but it was like there were a few arcs that I
There are
just slept
some low
through.
moments, yeah.
So that's a caveat, and then I've seen some of the first season of Rebels, but not the rest of it, and then I have, and this is sort of irrelevant, but I have played through the Force Awakens games.
Alright. So, Ahmad, I assume you've watched.
I've seen the Clone Wars this summer. I rewatched it, binged it all. Man, what a ride! I forgot.
Anything other than the Clone Wars or anything else?
I've seen. You mentioned the 2D Clone Wars, the one made by Samurai Jack, the same creators.
Genndy Tartakovsky?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen that, but nothing else. Even though I will see there. I'm gonna get to Rebels and all.
Yeah, I really want to watch.
Yeah.
I saw one of the trailers for it with spoilers, Maul, and like the moment that you start to expand on the Jedi is when you get me interested in Star Wars.
Yep.
Like that's sort of the long and short of it.
How much have you seen?
I have seen the theatrical releases. I have seen the Clone Wars movie. I have seen parts of the 2D one. I have seen the Clone Wars. I have seen the Rebels. I have played the Force Awakens games. I have played the Battlefront games, except for the most recent one.
We'll cover Star Wars games in this episode. That's a whole other topic.
You said Force Awakens.
I
You mean
played
Force Unleashed?
Did I say
You said Force Awakens game
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I thought I
Force
said
Unleashed.
Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Force
when we
Unleashed.
say Force Awakens and we're talking about video games, we mean Force Unleashed.
Yes.
Am I sitting on golf, dude?
The-
Okay, sorry, never mind.
And then I've seen a lot of Star Wars. That's right. But I have not seen Resistance yet.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run through it here real quick. The history of Star Wars on television. Started out in '78 with the holiday special.
Oh
I've
my
not seen
goodness.
Then we had Caravan
Parts
of
of
Courage and Ewoks: The Battle for Endor, which were two Ewok live-action television films in 1984 and 1985.
You've told me that the second one is not
The
that
second
bad.
Ewok movie, compared to, the live-action movies, like theatrical ones, it's not good. But for the standards of a 1980s TV film, it's not that bad. It's got some cool set pieces, and they retconned one of the witches in that movie into being a Night Sister. They went back and retconned that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's the first one is very much a cheesy after-school 80s special, but it's not bad. However, the holiday special is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Okay.
It's
So, anyways,
yeah.
keep going.
And then what I mainly want to focus on, those are really movies that just happen to air on TV. The Holiday Special is not even really a movie; it's essentially a variety show. Don't even bother. The Ewok movies, however, though, if you can find a way of getting your hands on, the DVDs are out of print. They only had them for a limited time in 2004 to tie in with the re-release of the original trilogy on DVD.
Okay.
But if you can find a way to get your hands on somehow watching the Ewok movies, it's a fun time if you're a major Star Wars fan.
Okay.
What I really want to talk about is the animated shows.
Yeah.
They had, so in 1985 there was Droids. 1985 to 86 there was also Ewoks. Then in 2003 through 2005 we had the original Clone Wars. And 2008 to 2014 there was the Clone Wars, and it's coming back again in 2019.
Which is
I just remembered. Oh, I'm psyched.
which is
And
really exciting.
Rebels ran from 2014 to 2018. And Forces of Destiny was 2017 to current, even though it's not really a TV show. It's more of a
Yeah.
YouTube series.
I do watch it,
It's a
It's a web series.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a web series.
And
It's like
then
a shorts.
Resistance is started this year and is continuing. So what I first want to talk about, we can skip Droids and Ewoks. Really, all I think any of us have to say about that is they were
Never seen it.
they're
I saw like one thing of Droids. Never watched much of it, but
they are essentially exist to sell toys.
Yeah.
They're not canon. They're really just children's shows. There's really nothing there that you're missing out on.
Yep.
However, the next one, Clone Wars, the original one, is really good.
Fantastic.
So this is the 2D animated one, just for the audience here.
Yeah.
In between the release of Attack of the Clones,
I haven't seen the original Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in between the release of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, these were aired on Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
Now these are the interesting about this is that it's a micro series, not a regular TV series. So each episode is about like 5 minutes long. It was aired during like commercial breaks.
Okay.
But the entirety of it's like 2 hours?
Yeah, the entirety of the entire series is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
There's 2 DVDs that's not streaming anywhere because Disney kind of wants to make it disappear because it's not canon.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you want to see it, you can find it on YouTube real easy, but they also have DVDs of it.
Okay.
Sadly, no Blu-ray release, and I want to see this on Blu-ray, but that's a lot of fun.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's good. Grievous, despite only being on screen for 17 minutes, is menacing in this, and you actually get to see him kidnap Palpatine and leading into the beginning of Revenge.
I think the
that's
best.
cool.
I remember seeing the lead into that movie. Like, they did a good job in tying into the third film.
I think it's a good show, but the problem I have with it is it doesn't necessarily mesh with the main movies.
Oh, okay.
Like, they have this one segment of Mace Windu going up against what is essentially an entire army of battle droids, and he's just punching them, and it doesn't really feel Star Wars-like.
Sure.
It feels more like Samurai Jack, which makes sense because of Andy Tartakovsky. But it's only a 2-hour commitment, and if you like Star Wars, it's an interesting time. It's almost like Star Wars anime,
I
almost.
think one of the best depictions is Grievous.
Oh yeah, it is the best description of Grievous.
Yeah.
And there's a character called Dirge, which was really interesting. And Asajj Ventress, her first appearance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Worth checking out, but I'm sure the one we all want to talk about is the next one.
Star Wars
The
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
Goes
Clone
back
Wars.
and makes the prequels better.
Yeah.
Like, it just does.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how it does it, but it does.
It gives Anakin more depth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It gives Anakin more depth. I love how it
Obi-Wan's
does
not
the
creepy.
thing with like it gives him a Padawan. I thought that was really clever. Like,
I didn't
cover
at
idea.
first,
I
but I
thought
love
that-
it now.
I loved how they sort of delved into the lives of the clones themselves. Some of the episodes I do want to highlight. I could talk about any one of them, but the Clone Cadets episode and also the Deserter was also an interesting episode.
Every episode with the 5 clones,
Main clones, yeah.
Echo,
are
Bonds,
all-
and all of them.
yeah.
Was
That-
it the
those are
ARC
all-
Troopers?
That was like the first chronological one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the Deserter was also an episode about one of the clone troopers you guys know, who deserts the sort of his troops and
It's really good.
yeah.
Man.
We're still recovering.
Yeah, the episode where I think it's in the first season, where Anakin goes to look for R2 is great.
Also another episode entitled Massacre. This is another good one.
Every episode, I think the last story arc with Yoda is
great.
really good.
Yeah.
In that season 6 Lost episode thing.
I just love it. I love how they have a quote introducing all of the and one of the specific episodes. The episodes open. The episode opens with in memory of Akira Kurosawa, who George Lucas was inspired by. I actually did my history of film this class on, and I did my presentation on Akira Kurosawa, and I hadn't known he had influenced so many.
He's really cool.
Yeah, he influenced George Lucas, and one of the episodes in memory of Akira Kurosawa. And I was like, hey, I did my presentation on that guy, so that was interesting.
I actually really I didn't realize that it was the intro, because I guess I just didn't remember, because I remember watching the premiere, I think. But I didn't realize it was the premiere. The first episode is Yoda with clones. And I thought that was really cool when I rewatched it. I thought that was a really cool intro.
We should probably go around and ask what our favorite episodes are. At least I know my favorite episodes is the three-parter. It might be a lot of yours. Is the why do I blank on the name right now?
Which one is it?
When I'm on the spot. It's the one where they go. It really changed.
You remember which season it was from?
I think it's 3 or 4.
Okay.
It's when Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka get trapped on
Monster? Is that the episode?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The one where he's Anakin's like the one.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, it's the one where they get
like
where they get trapped on like a planet, like a Jedi planet.
Yes, and
that one's really good.
My favorite
because they foreshadow Vader.
They foreshadow
was that
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Ghosts of Mortis or
yeah, the Ghosts of Mortis.
Mortis, there we go.
Yeah,
Mortis.
Yeah. It's that's one of the most memorable.
And if I'm not mistaken, Liam Neeson comes back in that.
I don't know if it's that episode, but he does come back later on in the show.
He's definitely in that. Like Qui-Gon Jinn shows up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking of he's also shows up in the one with Yoda.
In the Yoda journey.
That was so cool to see.
That was really cool.
When I first saw Qui-Gon Jinn, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm like, did they actually get Liam Neeson to do it? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure. 90% sure that's Liam Neeson saying that.
Before I mention this, I forgot to mention at the beginning, the show we talked about during the fire alarm, but didn't mention it on here, I don't think. It had a very rough start when the Clone Wars started.
Yeah.
It started with a theatrically released movie, which was just 4 episodes stitched together into a movie. It was not good, but the show becomes quite good.
I thought the ending of the movie was weird, but I thought it was alright.
Well, it was done in that same episode, ending format.
Yeah, it was
so
the same format.
If you watch the show, it's not as jarring, but if you watch that movie in and of itself.
Yeah, if you watch the movie which you kind of have to because it sets up the story arc.
Yeah.
Don't watch the show without the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask. I've talked to Caleb about this, but what if they had Ahsoka's character be the in the sort of Force Awakens Last Jedi? Have her instead of
would love that. However, I don't think the general audience would understand it.
Would understand
if she just comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden she's super important.
Yeah.
Now I think if they did like a spin-off film and she popped up, I wouldn't be opposed.
You know what I want her in? I want her in the Obi-Wan movie. That's what I want.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Now
I would love it.
I also should clarify with the show for anybody who's interested in watching it. In the order they were aired on TV is not the order they take place in.
Nope.
For some strange reason, George Lucas would just air them out of order, and also made them later on make prequel episodes to episodes that already came out. So if you want to watch it in the chronological order, just Google Star Wars: The Clone Wars chronological episode order, and it'll tell you the episode. It's just the first number is the season, and then the last number is the episode number. Do it that way because it makes the show so much better.
I kind of liked how it was kind of jarring, but I kind of liked that. It sort of called back to the previous episodes.
I like that too. There's an episode that David Tennant voices a character in.
I can't remember which one.
It's the one where the young Padawans go and build their lightsaber.
Oh, he was the droid, wasn't
he? Yeah, he plays the droid.
Yeah, that was a great episode too.
Yeah,
I loved
it was a good
Was it
it was a good like
Death
Jedi episode, but
yeah. Well, it's like you said. Anytime when they expand upon the Jedi lore, that's a great episode.
I like my favorite
Including
part.
Rebels.
My favorite part of Star Wars is the Jedi lore, and which is weird because one of my favorite Star Wars movies is Rogue One. But
yeah, I mean,
too. So. Yeah, and the stuff that they do in Clone Wars is all really cool.
So for me, it's a 3-way tie for my favorite story arcs. And we should also clarify that later on in the Clone Wars, rather than doing just one episode being a plot, they would have 3 to 4 episodes all being one story arc.
Yep. Which is a good idea.
Yeah. So my 3-way tie for my favorite story arc was either Darkness on Umbara, which I loved. That was the one.
Which one is that?
That was the one of where General Pong Krell is on the planet Umbara with the clones, and he's already foreseen Order 66. And so he's treating his clones just like they're mindless beasts, and Captain Rex has to somehow lead a resistance against the Jedi General.
He looks like that person that Obi-Wan talked to.
Yeah, on Kamino, in the diner in Attack of the Clones.
In Attack of the Clones. He's that Jedi.
Okay.
If you remember that one.
It's also... Similar, my other ones that tied to is obviously Yoda's story arc in season 6, and I really enjoyed the Wrong Jedi, the Ahsoka's season 5 storyline where she's spoilers, where she's framed as the killer.
Oh, that's right. That was good. That was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah.
What were your guys' favorite story arcs?
I'm gonna. It's been a while.
You said mine, like Darkness on Umbara. I completely, that was one of the...
Umbara was great.
Sure. But I also mentioned
any episode with Cad Bane, I really like.
I agree too. Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna say that. And anything with Darth Maul too.
Oh, really?
Honestly, when Cad Bane got introduced, I think that's when the show became great.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I think we talked about how like the first season was rough. Season 2 was just okay up until they introduced Cad Bane in the finale.
He was in season 2, episode 1, Holocron Heist.
Yeah.
Maybe it's...
Yeah, it was like his introduction, I think I remember being like a marketing
Or was
point.
it season 1 finale that they introduced Cad Bane?
I don't remember.
I think that's what it was.
Okay, so then,
I remember him being a part of like the advertising for season 2. And he was really good.
One of the elements for it to mention is the invasion of Kamino, with Grievous and the Asajj Ventress trying to take over. That's the one with 99.
I think I
clone.
kind of remember that. I
remember the one with the one of the clones goes rogue and the
that one's good. Like the problem is like you guys are describing episodes and I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. Like I can't pick my favorite because I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, by far,
it's all
mine
good.
is Mortis, just because of how that I can remember.
And it understands Anakin.
It understands Anakin.
Yeah, if you understand Anakin and your Star Wars thing, you're gold. Like,
also, the political stuff really worked.
And
I didn't find it boring.
Yeah.
Boring.
It's better than the prequels.
The only episodes I didn't particularly like are the ones that focus on Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Those were rough.
And there's one of just 3PO and R2 trying to go fetch something from Padme, and it was...
That one's just goofy enough to work for me.
Yeah,
I thought.
There's like 3 episodes that are Jar Jar centric episodes, and it's not.
It's like these are like filler episodes.
Any episode, I love the development of Obi-Wan too.
Oh yeah.
I really like how they develop Obi-Wan.
Oh, Mandalore!
The Mandalore storyline.
Oh my gosh!
That's another one that's great.
We forgot about Mandalore, which is why I'm so psyched for the Mandalorian TV show. There are so many.
It's part of the Darth Maul return. Which, spoilers, I guess technically Darth Maul comes back in this show.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
It's awesome. I love the way that they develop his homeworld. It's brilliant, and and the stuff that they do with him and the Emperor is fantastic.
Cat and Mouse was interesting. That was off the Mandalore thing. It was an interesting episode.
Yeah.
Really, the show, there's really not that much bad in it. Ahsoka is a little bit whiny towards the beginning, but she's mainly there to fill the kid audience that the show is trying to capture.
Until she's not.
Until she grows up, and she's a really compelling character.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
I think it was one of the Mandalorian episodes where that was when I finally was like, okay, I buy Ahsoka.
Oh, wait,
Like-
was it the one where she was assigned to go? It was one of my favorite ones also, where she gets assigned to help one of the kid cadets.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that was
She
good.
talks about corruption and all that
corruption,
stuff.
Yeah,
I was like,
That
yeah,
was good.
that was really good.
Yeah. That's
But-
when I was like, this.
I'm so excited for the show to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's just going to be for one season or it's coming back full time. But
I can't see them doing more than one season.
Yeah.
Because I don't think so, for people who don't know out there, the show when Disney bought Lucasfilm was canceled because it aired on Cartoon Network and not
Yep.
Disney Network. And so remaining storylines, when it was canceled in 2014, they had half of season 6 finished, and that
Yep.
came to Netflix. The remaining storylines became books and comic books, and were also wrapped up in Rebels, which we'll get to. But the storylines I think that were already told in book form, comic form, or wrapped up in Rebels are not going to be in this season.
No.
I
Yeah.
think really the main focus is going to be the Siege of Mandalore. I think it's going to be the main story.
I think the Siege of Mandalore, and I really want them to do a lead up to Coruscant. The Battle
I
of
think
Coruscant.
we'll probably get that. But any more of the Maul stuff, I think we're going to get Maul on Mandalore because it makes sense. But I don't think we're not going to get any more Ventress because she's already got her novel that wraps her up. Ahsoka, while she'll be on Mandalore, her storyline is fulfilled and also expanded upon in Rebels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoilers, but she's in Rebels.
Yeah.
I think we're not going to get some of the other storylines they had talked about. Mainly, there was one with the Yuzan Vong from the old Expanded Universe books, but now those are no longer canon. I don't think that's ever going to happen. What do you guys think, besides the Siege of Mandalore?
I want
And the lead
them
up to
to
Coruscant.
do. I want them to wrap up the main clones, with Fives and
Fives.
them.
Yeah.
They
I want
technically already did that, actually. But I won't say it.
As much as I love the side stories,
Yeah.
like Clone Wars has, and I would have loved more, I mainly just want season 7 to be wrapping it up.
Wrapping it
Yeah.
up.
Like, as much as I would have loved to have seen the R2 Top Gun homage that we're going to do with Captain Rex and R2, or that storyline about some Sith temple being under Coruscant, I would have loved to have seen that. But
I think they should do it.
Yeah, that, and I really want to see the storyline.
Do we know how big of an arc season 7 is going to be?
We just
like
know 13
big in-
episodes.
Oh, 13 episodes.
However,
Okay,
they didn't
that's what it's
clarify
gonna
if they're only going to be 22 minutes. They didn't say that either.
That is very true.
So
Ooh.
I was really shocked. I just want to note something else. I was really shocked by how violent, like for an animated kids show, how
Well,
violent
it doesn't have blood.
It doesn't have. Well, that's the thing about Star Wars is
Yeah.
it gets away with that. Sort of, you could actually kill people on
it's
screen.
quite mature for a cartoon
Yeah, for
network show.
even Ventress's character.
And the show's, I was joking about this when I was first watching it. The show's move is to have somebody sitting down and for somebody to ignite their lightsaber through the chair and through their chest.
Yeah.
That's how like.
I mean, I was
That's
gonna
how Jedi kill
Ventress
people.
is pretty demented and twisted. There was
Yeah.
a scene with Ventress where she.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she kisses him on the cheek. Then she lightsabers
like
right
she
through him.
force pulls him onto
Force,
her
yeah.
lightsaber and then kisses him on the cheek and then throws him out.
Like those.
Like,
That's
it's messed
so
up.
season 3. So that's what I was like. I mean, it's not really like gruesome, like horrible, but like for a kids show,
for a show on Cartoon Network, I did not expect that.
It's pretty demented.
So-
Yeah, like for people who don't like cartoons but like Star Wars, the Clone Wars is not a cartoon. It's not a children's show. It just happens to air on Cartoon Network.
It kind of makes me sad because you tell me that Rebels isn't the same way. Which if Rebels
Yeah, let's actually use that to transition to Rebels.
So Clone Wars was great, and then Rebels was the first show that Disney had, and it aired on Disney XD from 2014 to 2018.
They tried to do the kids thing.
It started off as much more as a kids show, but similar to Clone Wars, it grew into itself.
Yeah.
It still has moments of comedy that don't always fully land, and there are certainly filler episodes that are designed just for kids.
I'm going to assume that the show basically matures as Ezra.
Well,
matures.
Yeah, I think the reason why Rebels became so good is because Disney. Okay, so Disney was definitely in charge of that first season.
Yeah.
But as the seasons progressed and the episodes progressed, Dave Filoni got back in charge.
Yeah. Once you give Dave Filoni Star Wars, he does great things with it, is what I hear.
I will say this. You mentioned the clones.
Yeah.
They do bring them back.
They are in Rebels.
Okay.
Well, at least Rex, Wolf, and Gregor.
Wow, I might just watch.
They
Rebels
bring
just
back
for that,
a lot of.
I mean,
Before they mentioned season 7, they brought back a lot of Clone Wars arcs to almost to where when Rebels ended, I'm like, okay, the whole thing's done.
Yeah.
Like they wrap up Ahsoka for the most part.
They bring back.
They wrap up. No,
won't say
yeah, I don't.
Whoa, come on,
They wrap up the clones for the most part. Really, the only thing, and okay, spoilers for some people, but not. It doesn't spoil
The arc.
Rebels or the arc. It just spoils the appearance of somebody.
Yeah.
They do wrap up Maul's storyline. He
Yep.
pops up in this.
But he's in Solo.
Solo takes place before Rebels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to get even more of what Maul was doing.
I really want Maul in the Obi-Wan. I want like the Obi-Wan movie to be a wrap up of the Jedi stuff.
Sarge's reaction.
We kind of know what. So
But,
we're
what's
not
gonna
just
happen?
gonna
Anyway,
say-
no spoilers.
Even though that's a great moment.
Yeah.
In,
So-
Planning on watching this as soon as I can.
Okay.
Rebels it's a great show. It certainly matures. The first season is a little rough. You stick with it though. Season 2 is great. Season 3 is great. Season 4 is excellent.
Yeah.
Kanan is probably one of the best characters of the new Disney canon.
He's the adult Jedi.
He's the adult
right?
Jedi. Voiced
And
by
it's
Freddie
like-
Prinze Jr.
you know.
Yeah.
So is it-
You know.
Yeah.
Because.
Does it have some? Because it's a show for kids. Does it have some mature?
Oh, it
elements
is.
in
It
Near
gets
the- near the
mature.
end.
The characters. There's some relationships, mainly the one between him and Hera, that is very mature.
Mhm.
Ezra starts off as just essentially how Ahsoka was in Clone Wars,
Okay.
I'm so
Yep.
insulted.
and then
I'm sorry.
eventually
Sorry.
becomes.
Well, I'm okay with that. I mean, I just want
Yeah.
to make sure that it gets better progressively.
And
Okay.
then
So-
a character that I always liked from the beginning of that show all the way up until the end was Sabine.
Yeah, Sabine's great.
She, obviously
She's the one that looks
from
like
Mandalore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one episode, I believe it's in season 3, if I'm not mistaken, and she's training with Kanan,
Yeah.
and I think it's one of the most powerful scenes out of any Star Wars.
This is in Rebels.
Material.
Season
Yeah.
3
The
Rebels.
two things to keep in mind when you're watching Rebels is that it's not as galaxy hopping as Clone Wars. Is the first
Mhm.
thing. Don't expect to be jumping around the galaxy for this huge, widespread storyline. It's focused
Okay.
just on this core group. It does tie into the rest of how the rebellion has formed.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
You do get, without having to have read the comics or the books or anything, you get how the rebellion formed while also focusing on just this core group.
That's cool.
But yeah, just don't go in expecting a widespread galaxy hopping adventure like the Clone Wars. And also know that it airs on Disney XD and
Yeah.
that it's not going to be super mature, but it
Mhm.
still finds a way to have characters be
Yeah.
mature.
So let's end Star Wars here because we're not even on our special. Oh,
Yeah, we
wait.
gotta address Resistance real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have-
Resistance.
Okay.
Resistance.
just started.
None of
It's
this
the
is-
sequel series to Rebels. Takes place 6 years before The Force Awakens.
Oh, that's the major problem with that show.
6 years before The Force Awakens?
Yeah, it should take place like 15 years before the Force
Yeah.
Awakens.
They should probably give an unspecified date like they did with the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Uh,
And Rebels.
Resistance, I've not loved it so far. The art style is not the same as Clone Wars and Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
It looks much more manufactured. Whereas
Sure.
the Clone Wars and Rebels looked sharp and expensive, I guess. Resistance just looks cheap. Currently, it's a 10-episode first season. It airs on Disney Channel rather than Disney XD.
Ooh, that probably feeds into
Yeah,
it
it's
as
a
well.
big oof.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the main problem I have with the show is that and I get why they did this. It is much more child oriented. The main character Kazuda is so annoying, and he keeps saying Poe Dameron pops up a couple times. He's like, "You're doing a great job, kid." I'm like, there is no world. I don't care what Star Wars universe you're in which he's doing a good job. He's supposed to be a spy for the Resistance.
Yeah.
And every single thing he does, he is one of the most idiotic characters. However, I watched the show for 2 reasons. One, because, Star Wars, and I want to see how it ties in.
Yeah.
Because I know they're going to address Rebels at some point, because they left
Yeah.
over some threads there. That, in the character of Jarek Yeager, I can't remember the guy who voices him, but he's an alright character. And for some reason, I think Niku's kind of funny. He's an alien that I have.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Dave Filoni isn't doing this one, right?
It says
He's
he's
in
supervising
charge of-
director, but I don't think he's really
Yeah,
right.
Dave
I think he's in
Filoni's-
charge of a different show that he's making.
Oh, I would not be surprised if one of the live-action Disney Plus shows, he's somehow involved.
He's either doing that or he's doing. Well, obviously he's doing season 7 right now of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing what Rebels led into. Which honestly, I would have rather had just Resistance be that. Like you could have that same title and be like.
Yeah, also, based on, I don't want to spoil it for Ahmad or anything.
I don't want to spoil it.
Based on how Rebels ends, you could have very easily made Resistance a much more compelling show than what it is now.
Right. Yeah.
Now, that being said, knowing how season 1 of Rebels ended, I can see where Resistance is probably going to be going with its future content.
Okay. So there's hope.
There is hope, because like we said with Clone Wars and we said with Rebels, they never start off the best. It's going to take some time for them to find their footing.
Yeah.
While it's much more of a child show now, and I don't need a show to be adult and gritty and dark, because Rebels was never adult and gritty and dark. Mm-hmm. I just don't want it to be, I guess, stupid being keyword.
Yeah.
I want characters to actually have compelling motivation and development. Kazuda right now is just an entitled brat, and I need him to have more character. Okay. But there is still hope, because seasons 1 of Rebels and Clone Wars were not great. But
okay.
It'll probably come into its own.
Okay. Still vying for my Christopher Nolan Star Wars movie,
but yeah, for everybody at home, definitely check out the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But once you're done with that,
it's all
check
on
out
Netflix.
Rebels. Oh, it's all on Netflix except for season 7 will be a Disney Plus.
Yeah. And then
I think they pulled Clone Wars.
It's on there right now, but I would not be surprised that it'll eventually be pulled.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So if you're gonna watch Clone Wars,
now's the time to do it.
Now's the time.
Unfortunately, Rebels is not on Clone Wars. If you want to watch Rebels,
it's on Hulu.
Is it on Hulu?
It might be on Hulu, but if it's not,
fact checking it right now. Actually, I have Hulu.
And you can also.
You're the fact checker.
You can buy it on iTunes. They have all the episodes on iTunes.
That's expensive.
If you buy them in HD, it's expensive. If you buy standard def.
I don't want to watch things in SD nowadays.
Neither do I, but it's cheap.
It looks like it is on Hulu.
It's on Hulu? All right. Dad, you're listening to this. We're watching Star Wars Rebels over winter break.
No, it's not.
It's not?
What?
Ahmad, you lied to me.
Wrong.
At least with my subscription, it's not.
Wait,
I guess never mind.
Because
currently unavailable.
It says watch with live TV.
Dang.
Well, the DVDs are all, and the Blu-rays are not that expensive either. So if you're a star, it's like $20 like per season.
Discover other shows like.
Ouch. Anyways, all right. Well,
that was the discussion.
That was the discussion. We basically just had a special. Yeah. Great shows, especially Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh, especially. If you're gonna watch a Star Wars show, skip droids and Ewoks. Check out the 2003 Clone Wars if you can, but definitely Clone Wars 08 and Rebels.
Yeah.
And Resistance. If you are Star Wars obsessed, give it a chance.
Yeah. Ahmad is looking at Bob's Burgers right now for no reason. So we're going to move into our special. This is actually the second Spider-Man special, if you think about it.
But it's focusing on a different.
This is the Spider-Man PS4 game. Caleb has played through the story. Sire has played through the story, and you've 100%ed the open world, right?
I 100%ed the open world. I have not 100%ed the trophies.
Not the trophies.
I came close, but I didn't have enough points in all the suits.
I haven't played the game, but I do have a lot of questions about it.
Okay, and I have played.
Done is unlock all the suits. That's it.
I haven't 100%ed anything, but I have played through the story and I've played through the 2 DLCs. I'll just go ahead right out the gate before we start talking about stuff. The 2 DLCs are not as good as the main game, but they're worth playing, and they're still just as well written, and the characters are still great. So
once the third episode comes out, I'll be doing that over winter break.
Yeah. So let's start out with how freaking good Yuri Lowenthal is as Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
He's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
At first, I've gotten so used to Tom Holland that I took me out of it. But once I got like 2 or 3 missions in, it was really good.
Yeah. He's my favorite Spider-Man, bar none. There's no I can't think of anything that anybody has done.
I think he's the best Peter Parker for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I would have to look more closely at all the Spider-Man to tell that, but he's definitely the best Peter Parker.
I agree with Sawyer.
Yeah. I think I first I didn't love it, but I dig the new suit.
Yeah.
With the white spider on it. Now, before we talk, we're probably going to talk most about. What, you guys don't like the suit?
I don't like the suit.
Ah.
I will be there. I don't. It's not because of the white spider. It's because of the red on that suit. It's very
It's too bright.
sun
Is that what it
bleached.
is?
It's very sun bleached.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can
It's
see
not very red. It's more.
It's like maroon almost.
Yeah.
The red band around his waist looks like a belt.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest.
that. That's true. Yeah.
I
it does.
barely played the actual suit in that game.
You mostly use the OG suit.
I used actually Tom Holland's Spider-Man for most of it, and then I
That's
went
cool.
to the Iron Spider because that thing's OP.
Yeah.
I didn't unlock that one. I'm so mad.
Oh, really?
I thought once you beat you had the coins, they didn't run out, so I just went through one by one and unlocked it. And before I
ouch.
realized that, like, oh wait, I need these credits. And I don't have enough to get the Iron Spider, but I have Punk Spider-Man for some reason. I'm like, I'm so mad.
No.
Have you guys unlocked the cell shaded suit?
I ran out of credits.
What is that? One?
Could you buy more credits if you wanted?
Yeah.
No,
Honestly,
you have to
it's against
play
my
through the
principles,
story.
But no, I probably would if I could.
No, you have to like play through the game. You have to actually play the game to unlock stuff.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which
Wow.
I
Weird
did,
in 2018.
Yeah, weird.
I just don't want to go through and spend all that time to do that. Maybe I.
One of the great things about that game is that how well the
cinematography.
No,
I mean, the
Cinematics.
cinematography is good.
Yeah,
But yeah, the
the
cinematics.
seems like it knows
cinematics adapted very well to the suits that
Yeah.
were different.
Yeah, they did a good job of that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably spend the majority on Doc Ock, I imagine.
Before we get to the story, can I mention some mechanic things first?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to mention specifically how the swinging at first, it took me some time to
It's
get
jarring.
used to.
Yeah.
It was very jarring. Once you get the hang of it, it feels very natural.
It
Yeah.
feels.
It
at
feels
first,
terrific.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
know
love
how it feels,
swinging
but it
around
looks-
in that
It
game.
looks like it's very naturalistic.
Yeah.
At first, it takes some time to get used to the fact that you've got to like hold, release.
Yeah.
You're used to just holding it down as it swings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it works once you get the hang of it. The combat is basically just Batman Arkham.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing new, and the gameplay itself overall is just Arkham City.
Sure.
Really, kind of what it is. That's not me sliding the game. It's still a great game. It's just the gameplay wise,
That's
it's Arkham City. It's really what the
Sure.
gameplay is.
I
In
can
terms
hear
of
that.
the way the open world map design is, the tasks, even Taskmaster is essentially as Rail from the Arkham City.
Yep.
It's really just Arkham City, but that's not
Especially
against
in
the
the
game.
third act.
Oh
too.
yeah, the third act is very Arkham City.
Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely mechanically uninspired. That being said, that's not a bad thing against the game because
No.
the mechanics it's adapting are
Yeah.
already fantastic.
See, for me, it was like one of the first Arkham type games that I've played. So it was like,
oh, so you haven't played
Yeah,
the Arkham games?
mm-mm.
We're
Nope.
checking out.
Yeah.
Should do it.
I've thought about it. I don't know yet. I'm kind of disenfranchised with Batman
Well,
right
well,
now.
I'll just put it this way.
Those games I've played
It's-
sound really good games.
It's a darker Batman the animated series. It's not.
Sure.
Same
I mean,
voice,
yeah,
too.
but I'm just not feeling the Batman thing.
I
right now.
I would
That's
say that I like Mark Hamill's performance is great in the animated series, but it's so much better in Arkham.
Yeah.
I think that's
Okay.
my opinion.
Yeah.
But on Spider-Man,
Anyways,
the last
Spider-Man.
thing I
Yeah.
wanted to mention with the gameplay was that specifically the way it all links together. That they give you. Always hate with these open world games when the side missions are just random fetch quests for like
Yeah.
random civilians.
Mm-hmm.
There are some of those in here, but a lot of the side missions tie in with the main story.
Yeah.
Like the Tombstone stuff. Or they're not necessarily tying into the main story, but they bring up other actual, they're like sub-story arcs within
Yeah.
the story.
There's a whole Screwball arc with like he's one of the
Taskmaster,
Taskmaster is really
Tombstone.
cool.
There's like sub-storylines,
Yeah.
and I dig that.
Yeah, that's
I haven't been
Was
able to
Kingpin
play them all.
Kingpin?
Yes.
Kingpin is
He's
the
the
opening
opening.
of the game.
Oh, okay.
He's the opening.
Yeah, so the game opens and it's he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, and the opening mission of the game is they're finally taking down Kingpin, is what they're doing, and they do it, and the thing that Kingpin says, like his forewarning, is you'll want me back out here because
Someone
I'm the
take
one
my
who was because I was keeping all these people in check, and now you're just gonna set all of that
There's
loose.
a power vacuum and someone's going to
Yeah.
Which is interesting
Yeah.
because normally when you get story arcs of Kingpin, it's about leading up to trying to
Actually
take
take
him
him down. Yeah.
So when you take him down and like
and at the
you
opening,
see in a different form of these story arcs for Kingpin, like this is the what if storyline that he would talk about.
Now, you guys mentioned before this, I was talking to you guys about the game. Was it with Kingpin that you guys mentioned something? A spoiler.
The ending? No,
it has nothing to do with
Kingpin.
Okay.
Which I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I think we're all pretty positive that Kingpin's going to be in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Travis Willingham playing a character. He's going to be
He's
in
not
this
Vincent D'Onofrio.
I agree.
Vincent D'Onofrio?
I would honestly, any incarnation of the Kingpin nowadays has to be Vincent D'Onofrio for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't really
But I thought Travis Willingham did all right. Like I didn't need him to be Vincent D'Onofrio because he wasn't the focus. I honestly didn't know who the focus was going to be. I was like, wait, who's the villain?
Yeah, I try to avoid trailers for the most part. So every time I was like, Mr. Negative, first of all, I was like, never heard of him, but interesting to see they're going with this. And then like after the first act, I'm like, well, where did he go? Is he supposed to be the main focus? He's just gone. I was like, I know. Yeah. When open world games just sometimes in the second act they forget their focus and just I was like, so thankfully it avoided that.
Yeah, I loved the stuff that they did with Martin Lee. Mr. Negative.
There was only one moment, and it's not even a criticism. It's not even a criticism of the portrayal. It's just I was like, they went there, and I was like, this is very triggering.
What are they?
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, spoilers for the Spider-Man game.
Do you want me to go into?
Yeah, go into it.
It's when they go into a literal terrorist attack.
Yeah. It's he's actually a terrorist, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
They blow up a whole entire.
So essentially, Norman Osborn is the mayor of New York, and it's a campaign rally for him. And Miles Morales' dad, Jefferson Davis, had just stopped a crime with Spider-Man, Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he had gotten injured during it, which I think plays into why he's getting.
And was going to be given a medal by Norman Osborn at a campaign rally.
Which he gets.
Which he does get until Martin Lee bombs the Norman Osborn campaign rally, which kills Miles Morales' father.
Wow. Yeah, I could see
and knocks out Peter Parker, which is why no one is saved, because Peter Parker's...
It's a powerful scene.
It's shocking.
Peter jumps in front of Mary Jane to make sure she's away from the blast, and it knocks him out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's
and
why
you play as
That's
and you play as Miles Morales afterwards.
You actually play him very frequently.
Yeah, it's very clearly setting up a spin-off for him.
Yeah, and
it's his Uncle Ben moment. Okay. That's really what it is.
And it's terrific. That whole scene is
and the
fantastic.
lack of music. The lack of music really sells it. It's not like
these are silent scenes. There's no music.
Yeah, once the bomb goes off, it's silent. It's not silent, but there's no music.
It's definitely a game that understands cinematic storytelling very well. Insomniac deserves all of the credit in the world. So you have the Martin Lee stuff. That was all really good. I loved basically every interaction between him and Spider-Man. I thought was really well done.
I also think it was a good idea of them to, again, kind of going with the Batman Arkham route. Yeah. It's not specifically just one villain Peter's tracking the whole game. Yeah. It's him saying, I have to deal with a lot of stuff, I have a lot of things going on, and there's so many villains I'm trying to stop, and I can't handle it all. Which, granted, Spider-Man films and TV shows have done that storyline before. This just balances it so perfectly.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it's a game works in its favor because when they develop the stuff in between the cinematic moments, and so when you get to the cinematic moments, it still feels earned without having to spend too much time on.
Yeah.
So obviously there's the character. There's an arc in the how does the character development work in the
For
film.
which character?
For Peter Parker's character, the main.
So it's about the whole story is basically about Peter Parker. It does the smart thing and does not do another character study,
No.
which movies have done that. Every movie has been a Peter Parker character study, and we don't need more of that. So it ditches the idea of being a Peter Parker character study, and what it does is Spider-Man has a moral choice of, is somebody redeemable or not? Is somebody their actions, or is somebody more than what they've done? And it's that idea of, is Martin Lee, who's a terrorist, is he redeemable?
Is it his fault necessarily?
Yeah. And I think it basically comes down on, it's his fault, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop caring about him.
Yeah.
And I sort of hope that he has a redemption arc. I want Martin Lee to have a redemption arc.
Before we get to that, I think it's interesting that the game is also kind of a commentary on how Spider-Man as a character has grown from just being some teenager in the 60s to becoming... Because essentially, Ahmad, I know you haven't played it, but the game is essentially... It's him struggling with being an adult. He's 8 years... He's been Spider-Man for 8 years. He's been out of college for 4.
Something like that.
It's him trying to pay rent. That's the Spider-Man 2 thing of how do I keep track of all this?
Mm-hmm. But
you'll
get your rent when you fix this thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
It also subtly kind of says, like, people keep saying, like, oh, I wish things were back the way they were. Like, there's a line of dialogue where MJ's on the phone with Peter and basically says, like, I miss the days where it was you, me, and Harry. We went down to...
was such a good...
down to Pier and spent a whole day getting pizza just because we could.
That was so sweet. That was so nice.
It kind of says, like, the days of Spider-Man just being a kid in high school, stopping bad guys and going to get pizza with his friends are
Those
gone.
are
It's him being an adult now and realizing that things have changed. They're no longer your classic Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really enjoyed how they show that Spider-Man has grown from what he was.
Yeah.
So, could I ask you guys? So I saw there was a Stark Industry. There was a tower.
There's
an
Avengers Tower.
How much
Avengers
of the
Tower.
MCU universe? How much?
So it's not MCU.
Oh, so
that's the first. That's the first thing.
Okay.
It has the MCU logo at the beginning.
Okay.
But it's not the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So this is just going off Homecoming.
It's its own start.
Yeah, it's its own story.
Okay.
It's its own universe.
Story, no connection.
Interesting.
No connection to anything. It's and
it
wonderful.
does show that the other Marvel characters exist in this world.
Yeah.
You see Doctor Strange's Sanctum. You see Nelson and Murdoch. You see Avengers Tower. And there's a post-it note that references Reed Richards at the beginning of the game.
And then in the DLC, the second DLC, this isn't much of a spoiler. He's fighting a guy with a shield, and he says, "Oh, I know a guy with a cooler shield." So pretty clearly, he's talking about Captain America.
Yeah. Okay.
So like he definitely knows of at least of these characters.
Yeah.
But it does a good job of separating itself from the MCU. I think. So I think we should just get to the... So one of the things I want to actually... I feel like we keep beating around the Doc Ock bush, but it's mostly because the Doc Ock stuff is so, like, on its own that it's, like, if you talk about anything else, like, it doesn't have any relevance to Doc Ock. The relationship that Spider-Man has with the police is interesting.
And it's dynamic.
Yeah. I like the dynamic aspect of it, because the only movie to do anything complex with the police, I think, is The Amazing Spider-Man. And I kind of liked what they did with that, but they did a lot better with this, where he's working with the police captain, who she obviously hasn't really told anybody that she's working with Spider-Man. Or that, like, she personally is working with Spider-Man. It's pretty clear that she doesn't know his secret identity. And I really loved it. I thought that Yuri Watanabe was a great addition to the Spider-Man. I don't know if she's, like, in the comics, but...
If she is in the comics, She
I
should
think
be.
she's
Yeah.
a brand
She's
new
really
character.
cool.
Yeah, and I thought I loved like her Spider Cop dialogue. I
Oh,
thought that was I love how like she grew to love it as the story went on. I loved that.
And I love how starts becoming mutual respect between the cops and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's like they're not necessarily always working together,
Yeah.
but they understand what each other's trying to do.
And I really like how the police tie into the J. Jonah Jameson stuff.
Yeah.
And how like I really like how they do the thing of how people are actually affected by radio personalities and like what famous personalities think. I really like that they do that, and that J. Jonah Jameson is he's pretty clearly supposed to be an allegory for like pretty like crazy conservative talk show
I don't want
hosts.
to go too much into it, but he's very clearly like an Alex Jones type.
Yeah,
he's sort of
like a toned down Alex Jones, I think, which is not saying that much, but he but he has listeners who sometimes like the listener who's calling in will be like, hey, yeah, Spider-Man just saved my wife from robbery or something like that. And he's like, that's not Spider-Man. That's
He's a
not.
menace.
He's a menace. He's
a menace.
Okay, so who voices did you guys?
Not J.K. Simmons.
Although it should be.
Yeah, it should be J.K.
Any
Simmons.
incarnation should be J.K. Simmons.
Somebody acting like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, somebody pretty clearly trying to imitate J.K. Simmons. And he does a good job. But it's not as good.
When I first heard him at first, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be annoying. By the time I got done with the game, I was like, I was adapted.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of my second playthrough, and I think I turned him off because I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm kind of tired of hearing it. So
occasionally hear somebody come on like your bat radio and hear somebody like talking.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of how it is. It's just when you're swinging, it's a radio broadcast.
Okay, that makes sense.
You never actually see Jameson.
Yeah, he doesn't have any cutscenes.
No.
Neither does Harry Osborn.
Yep.
Which we have to address.
Yeah, we will address that. So let's actually get to the Doc Ock stuff.
His relationship between, I guess, with Otto and Peter Parker is really good.
Is really well developed.
Yeah. And they found a way to make his descent into becoming Doc Ock not cheesy.
Yeah. Not cheesy and better than Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
By far.
There's no insanity chip. Like
there's no insanity chip. There's no like it all feels supernatural, and I love that like they set up the bad relationship that he has with Norman Osborn from the very start.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about it at the time because I had seen the E3 trailer with where it reveals the like light shining up and at the end and Spider-Man is like, you? And I was like, who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be? I thought it was gonna be Iron Man for some reason.
I thought it was Green Goblin. To be honest.
That would
well,
awesome.
Actually, I was going to be honest with you. I was telling my brother this the other day. I was like, I kind of predicted Doc Ock because I'll tell you why. Most incarnations of the Sinister Six, which
they're all like formed.
It's either Green Goblin or Doc Ock.
Okay,
so.
Yeah,
I
have
there's no Green Goblin in this game. Norman Osborn's in it, but there's no Green Goblin.
And he's pretty clearly like not the best dude, but I have no reason to believe that he's actually like a bad guy.
Norman Osborn?
Yeah.
I
which
think
is actually surprising.
And I don't necessarily think Henry is going to be Green Goblin either.
Yeah.
No.
But
so
we'll get
we'll get to that. So so the relation. So I think the highlight, the reason I think that it's a great relationship is the last scene between the two of them.
Yes.
Is one of the best acted scenes in any Spider-Man.
The scene between Miles and...
the scene between Peter Parker and
That is... Oh, that's so good.
It's heartbreaking.
It's
heartbreaking, and it's like... You get where Doc Ock is coming from.
Right.
But you just can't... You can't, agree with him. You can't accept anything that he's done.
And it plays into that redemption, whether or not... He needs to be redeemed.
Yeah, and it's clear that he can't be redeemed.
He can't be.
Like it's not clear with Martin Lee,
right?
Which is why I want him to be redeemed because I feel like that's sort of the last hope. But with Doc Ock, there's no there's a credit scene and it's pretty clear that there's no redemption for him.
And what I love so much about the character of Spider-Man overall is how, unlike the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, he's not some, like, fantastic, I can carry the world on my shoulders. He doesn't know how to deal with everything that he's dealing with. He doesn't have everything figured out like Tony or Steve.
He literally has a conversation with Mary Jane about whether or not he should, like, continue to be friends with Doc Ock. And I was like, wow, that's, like, one of the most realistic things. Like, I know I've definitely, like, called my mom about, like, I don't know what to do about this. What should I do? And, like, and that felt very real to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, his relationship with MJ is really well done.
Yeah.
Really good.
I think the choice to make her...
Actually, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it won't surprise you to say, from me, yes.
The only thing that I would say would compete with it is with Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
But it's mostly for their chemistry, not necessarily, like, the storyline.
Yeah. This one had the storyline and the chemistry.
Yeah.
So, with this game, they start off, MJ and Peter are not together.
Yeah. They're not together. They were together.
You find out why they aren't currently together.
There's no specific, like, moment that's tied to it, which is smart. There's it's more of like a mentality thing.
You find out it's mainly Peter thinking he wants, like, MJ, you gotta be safe, you gotta do this, then MJ's like, I want to help, I can't just stay cooped up like a child.
Yeah.
Like, and
one of the things that I really liked about the storyline and with their dynamic is, you know, the reason why they were broken up was...
It had nothing to do with, like, cheating
or being mad.
Yeah.
Like, they both wanted to be together.
Yeah.
That's what made that so powerful because, you know, you get in the Raimi movies, you get in the, I can't be with you, you know, it's like...
her reason for breaking up with him during Spider-Man 3 is like is flimsy and also justified, and I'm like, what is this?
And then you got Gwen Stacy one. She can't.
It's Peter can't because her dad said no. Or
yeah,
something
Peter
like that.
can't because her dad said no, and she's upset with him, and she doesn't want to. She doesn't want. She's mad at him throughout the whole entire time.
Also, I'm kind of with Captain Stacy on that. It's like, I would be in the same position.
It's very true. And then, you know, in Homecoming, there's not.
I mean, there is no real romance there.
Unless.
I mean, there's the stuff
only
with,
just set up with the
it's only for the payoff with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
That's only
I mean, if you're gonna pay off with Michael Keaton, I'll take it.
I'm fine with that. It's just the most viable romances, and you don't get to see that in normal storytelling in general.
Yeah,
you don't get to see relationship is broken up because they can't. They have a hard time trying to be together.
Yeah, because it's not cheesy either, which is great. It makes sense, and you have Peter like. It's not like that. She's like, oh no, she's gonna hate me, or something like this, like the mean girlfriend, or something like that. It's Peter saying like, how do I?
Yeah, he's legitimately trying to figure this out, and they're both trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
MJ is a little more hesitant about it, but she's clearly like into him.
Which is a very entitled
back
relationship.
In the concept that we talked about earlier of the game being about how Spider-Man has matured since his incarnation. Like it's about how the character has not. Stayed the same.
Legitimately, MJ is basically a representation of like how damsel in distresses have evolved since.
Yeah, I mean, you get to play as MJ for a couple.
Times. And I loved every time when I played as her because she had great arcs.
I mean, I wasn't as big of a fan, mostly because I loved playing as Spider-Man.
Yeah, it does slow down the gameplay pacing a little bit.
But it was like, I still thought it was really cool. I particularly enjoyed every time she like interacted with the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. I liked that. She didn't. I kind of wish she and Silver Sable had a discussion at some point, but it's okay that she didn't.
So I want to give Ahmad since we're getting kind of closer to the ending here. I want to give Ahmad like the brief recap of how the ending goes, so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
So essentially, after Doc Ock. Well, I guess there's a virus that goes out because Doc Ock lets out something called Devil's Breath, which is essentially it's a biological weapon.
Yeah.
And some doctor who works for Oscorp has synthesized a cure. After
oh yeah, we have to
after-
talk about this.
this is
Major
after-
spoilers,
This
by
is
the way.
major spoilers.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the whole game. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After Doc Ock is defeated by Peter, a doctor for Oscorp has synthesized the cure for it.
Okay.
However, they only have one sample, and they can't use it to cure a specific person because it takes time to duplicate more samples.
Guess who got inflicted with the devil's
Oh
breath?
man.
So
Take a guess for me. Just
Yeah.
take a guess.
it's not MJ.
Yeah, it's not MJ. You're forgetting a
Which
very
at first I thought it was
critical
going to be,
Spider-Man character.
but it wasn't.
I'm glad
Spider-Man,
it wasn't.
A character in Spider-Man. Was it from the?
It's an iconic character
Yeah.
who's been around for decades.
This is a character that you cannot remove from Spider-Man.
It is
Spider-Man.
quintessential Spider-Man character.
Yeah.
Oh, Aunt May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aunt May dies.
Aunt
at the
May
end.
Oh my
dies.
God.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
dies at the
legitimately yelling at my TV
I was like,
you-
no, you do not do
yeah,
this.
You cannot kill Aunt May in my Spider-Man game, and they killed her, and now I'm crying.
Yeah, and it was so, what was so amazing about this scene was like just Peter, take that mask off. The fact that she knows
Oh
it's
my
him
gosh.
this whole time,
And
said
then
no.
when you're playing through the game again, you can tell she knows.
Yes.
Like they pretty clearly
Even I-
telegraph it.
She's like she's like,
played
be
it
careful,
one time.
Peter, or something like that. And
Yeah.
when it saves Miles and MJ
Yeah.
from the fire, you can tell she knew it was Peter.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so tragic, man.
Man.
Uncle Ben and Aunt May.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the scene
it's
is
so-
so well done.
It's so well
Is it-
done.
You see,
Yeah.
you guys are probably like, I'm not doing it justice just by imagining it.
No,
I feel like
it
you
is
just-
so well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And like even though it's just animation, you can feel the emotion
Yeah.
coming from
It's
Peter.
it's definitely an achievement in like performance capture in games too. Like
Mhm.
that's it definitely like
the
their
heartbreaking
performances.
part though is the fact that she knows it's Peter because he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm sorry, man, we couldn't save you," and she's like, "Peter, just take the mask off." And she
Oh.
knows it's him.
it's so
Oh,
sad. And he
yeah.
almost does it. He almost
almost does it.
sacrifices the entire city for Ant-Man. He's
Yeah.
like,
Oh my
I
God. You know,
can't
this
do
might
it.
this might be better than most of the Spider-Man movies.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
It's-
As much as I
it's-
enjoyed Homecoming,
like-
it's better than Homecoming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I mean I've joked about this on the podcast. It is the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It's just not a movie. That's the only
But
caveat.
like you said, it's very cinematic. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and based on what I've seen so far of the gameplay,
Yeah.
it looks.
That's
like
why I was telling you, watching the cutscenes, you're not like missing out on
Yeah.
much of the story.
You're not going to get the gameplay,
Yeah.
but the story, you're going to get the essence of the
yeah,
story.
yeah. So
Yeah.
And really, we haven't really talked about the Sinister Six in the game much. It's because they're not really in it much.
Which is
yeah,
They get broken out towards the end during like a prison
Yeah.
break in the raft,
Yeah.
and you have boss battles where you fight two of them at a time,
Yeah.
and then one last boss battle with Martin Lee, and then Doc Ock.
yeah. So it's Electro and Vulture together,
Yeah.
and then Rhino and Scorpion together.
Uh-huh.
I think
and
I
then you
liked
get Lee and then
Yeah.
Doc Ock.
I think I liked the Electro.
Me too.
The Electro Vulture fight
Vulture
was fun.
fight was fun.
well, Electro's my favorite
it's-
Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
So
Now,
this
that
is
being
a little bit of a
said-
bias.
And there was a lot of quick time events in that fight.
Yeah.
A lot of quick time events.
A lot of quick time events, and then the final fight with Doc Ock is
He's
terrific. I will say I think the boss fights are probably the weakest part of the game.
Yeah.
Especially,
I would say,
yeah.
but like it doesn't really detract from the game. It's just like pretty standard boss fight.
And
Wow.
before we get to the big scene,
Yeah.
I want to talk
No,
about.
we haven't got to the big
Oh,
scene
there's
yet?
another. Big
I
one.
mean, there are lots
Well,
of big scenes,
it was
but
okay.
there's a pretty significant reveal.
Significant
Oh,
reveal
yeah.
for going into the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also want to say there's a scene where Miles is helping Peter move into his new place.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles says, Peter's like, there's some weird stuff going on. They make a puberty joke. And then
Yeah.
he basically says, like, no, let me just show you. And he jumps on the ceiling because he was bitten by the spider. So
Yeah.
Miles is a Spider-Man.
Yeah, he gets bitten by a spider like during the game.
Oh, okay.
And he goes like, isn't this weird? And Peter just leaps on the ceiling. He's like, nope. And they just look at each other on the ceiling. And it's-
Yeah.
So like they both know each other have powers. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
significant for the sequel. But so the finale. This is an after credit scene.
Yeah.
You go into a lab.
Which
that we-
means this is definitely a Marvel movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So
It's like that.
there's a lab you see earlier
Yeah.
where MJ's trying to find information on Devil's Breath.
Okay.
It's a Oscorp lab in Norman Osborn's like penthouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they go in there and we're like, wait a minute, he's gonna open that door and it's gonna be a Green Goblin suit. However, he opens the door, it's not a Green Goblin suit. You'd be wondering.
So
Yeah.
we should mention that during the game they revealed that Harry's really sick.
Yeah, Harry is
like
very
he's
sick.
yeah, and he reveals like, oh, you know how like I wasn't able to see you guys, it was because I was really sick. And during the story, Norman Osborn talks about how Harry's gonna come back soon.
He's in Europe.
Yeah, he's in Europe, but he's gonna come back soon, and you guys maybe you should come work for me for when he comes back, because there's also the tension of. Norman Osborn is the mayor, and he doesn't like Doc Ock. And Doc Ock is a researcher.
Peter's his son's best friend.
It's very complicated.
There's also the whole creation of Devil's Breath.
And so
to help Harry.
Yeah, and so
cure him.
Anyways,
the virus that Doc Ock unleashes that kills Aunt May was meant to be an attempt at a vaccine to cure Harry.
Oh, okay.
And so the reveal...
The reveal is that when he opens that thing, it's not a goblin suit. It's Harry in this tank floating in here. And it looks like Luke in the back of the tank in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Just green.
However, and then I was like, oh, cool. So they're turning Harry into Green Goblin here. And then, the last shot, I was like,
what?
What happened?
So the last shot... Norman Osborn is like, I will find a way to cure you, son. And then there's a black... hand
symbiote thing that
comes
off. Oh my god! No way!
Yes. So they haven't done Gwen Stacy or Eddie Brock in this game. They haven't set that up at all. So they're probably just doing away with Eddie Brock and Gwen Stacy just doing Harry is Venom.
I mean, straight, and I was like, no way they're making Harry Venom. That is, so pumped.
That's good stuff. I'm down. That's not.
I still think Norman's going to be Green Goblin.
Oh, I think Norman will be Goblin.
Oh yeah.
I think
the way
the
lighting was. They've set up that he has the tech to do it. They have the setup for the glider.
There's even a mask that he picks up that looks like it looks like a prototype.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh man, this kind of makes me.
We're gonna get Norman Goblin. We're gonna get Harry as Venom.
Hopefully more Mr. Negative.
We're probably gonna get the Sinister Six again at some point.
You know what's interesting?
We'll probably get like a flashback scene or something like that.
I think if we're gonna get one, maybe Doc Ock.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we get maybe like Sandman. Or
Sandman. I'd like if they tried to do like an Uncle Ben's killer sort of thing.
And they address in the game when he's looking for that doctor at the college party. He says like, these college kids dressed as my greatest foes, and they show somebody dressed as Mysterio and one as Lizard. So Lizard and Mysterio have already happened in this timeline. We just haven't seen them.
That's right.
I tell you what, I've been waiting to find the perfect segue into it. This game is in a lot of ways what Amazing Spider-Man 3 was supposed to be. I think.
You think?
Or it's leading up to that.
What if they made Harry in Spider-Man 3 become Venom?
I think that's a better concept.
Did I say Spider-Man 3? I meant Amazing Spider-Man 3? Just clarification.
Because Spider-Man 2 will be a better Venom movie than Venom.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
But with Spider-Man 3, the studio would have never...
Man, what are they gonna do with it? Like, that's the thing. Like, I have no idea what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's the exciting thing as a fan. I'm just like, man, they could do so many things with it. They could develop Harry and Peter. They can develop Harry and MJ. Maybe Harry and MJ had a relationship at one point.
And you're forgetting Peter and Miles. Miles is the wild card in all of this. Like, how does he fit in?
I can't wait to play as. I think probably what they're going to do in Spider-Man 2 is literally, like, it's going to be Spider-Man 2, and, like, the 2 is going to be cut in half, and down the middle it's going to be,
Miles
it's going to be, like, the Spider-Man mask, but it's, like, one is Peter Parker and the other is Miles Morales, and that's going to be the game. The game is kind of like GTA 5, where you can, like, swap between the characters. It's probably going to be, like, you could just play as either one.
I think it's pretty cool, too, how Miles is... I mean, he's only been around since 2011, and he got his own movie, he's in this game, he's got comics.
I think I'm perfectly happy about it.
I'm excited for the movie. The movie should be good.
Yeah, I can't wait for Into the Spider-Verse.
My theory with what they're going to do with Miles and Spider-Man 2 is it's going to be a lot of, like, a Rocky training moment.
Can I get a Rocky montage in my Spider-Man game? Yes.
I think it's going to be a lot of just him training.
Yeah.
in that game,
I'm sure.
and it's going to
Is
be
it kind
more
of
of
like
a
a Star Wars sort of Anakin?
What if? Imagine this.
Oh
Okay.
no.
What if Peter defeats Harry Venom in this game?
Yeah.
But Peter becomes Venom, and Spider-Man 3 is Miles Spider-Man fighting Peter Venom.
That's interesting that you say that, because I also speculated that he's going to die in the next one.
Honestly, I
Which
think
would be
that would also...
That would be sad. I would die. I'd cry like a baby.
You know, like a Peter Parker Venom versus Miles Morales Spider-Man.
That would
After
be insane.
Peter is the one who's trained Miles as Spider-Man. Oh, I don't know if I'm able to take that.
Yeah, man, that's gonna rip my heart out.
I still can't believe Aunt May died.
Yeah,
It's so bad.
Yeah,
It's
I
either-
can't believe it either. It's one of the toughest moments in the series.
Yeah,
because
and-
I was just like, I was half expecting her to like end up surviving,
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, she's gonna just say the last second we're gonna cut
but
to black
then
and she's gonna wake up.
it fades to black, and then
And
it
the
fades up.
thing-
It fades up to like the people getting cured, like there are lines and stuff, and it's a whole program. And then it fades up to her funeral, and she's buried next to
The
Uncle
local
Ben.
band.
Spider-Man
And-
funeral cliche that they have to
Yeah.
end every
Yeah.
single installment
Do they
of
have an
Spider-Man.
do they have
it
an
has to end
homecoming?
on a funeral.
I don't think so.
Homecoming though?
No,
Nope.
but they didn't.
Correct.
Probably-
Well,
That
let
is
me
not-
think. Let me think
Oh my
for a second.
god.
There wasn't a funeral moment, but they talked about the death. Because Michael Keaton dies.
No, Michael.
No, he
Keaton.
Oh, that's right. He
Yeah.
doesn't die. He gets...
Okay, maybe there's not one, but there is an Amazing Spider-Man 2,
And obviously the
And an Amazing
1,
Spider-Man
2, and
1.
3, I think.
Yep, all three.
and then all the 1, 2, and 3. Oh no, not 2. 2 ends with.
Oh, you're right. That's with
Yeah.
MJ slow mo wedding dress.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the dome,
Yeah.
with the doves.
And then Q, which
Yeah.
actually that's what I did at the end of Spider-Man, like the game. I was like,
So did
okay,
I.
I gotta do it. So I pulled it up. I was like, all right, I know this exact sequence. And I went on top of the Avengers Tower, and I just went.
Oh, I went on top of the
What's-
One World Trade Center instead of.
Oh,
it was,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
closer, so I just did that.
Yeah,
and
it was,
I web swing through the city with Danny Elfman's score, and I'm like, that's how you end the Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Jumping
that
off of
was-
those three buildings is the most fun. It's the One World
Yeah.
Trade Center, Empire State Building, and Avengers
Yeah,
Tower.
because you build up the most speed, and the game is all about speed,
Yeah.
so it's like, it's fantastic. Favorite moments, just to close this out.
Other than the ones that we've mentioned already,
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments is actually with Aunt May with the rent scene.
Oh yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
She's
That
like,
actually-
I'm gonna give you rent, and he's like, I'll pay you back, and she's like, you don't have to.
Out of all the scenes, that one's probably the one that made me the
Yeah.
most emotional, including when she
Yeah.
died.
The one that wowed me, there's so many great scenes in this. The one that particularly wowed me though was that moment after Peter's beaten Doc Ock, after he like smashes into the building,
Yeah.
and Peter takes the mask off.
Yeah.
Like after it was revealed also
Yeah.
that this whole time Doc Ock has known that Peter is Spider-Man.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And
it's really and Peter is mad.
Yeah, he is.
He's like that hurts.
Yeah, he's furious, and he's just sobbing the entire time. And
Yeah.
he's like, he wants to help Otto, but he knows he can't.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
what is so difficult about that is Peter is such a good person, but
Yeah.
he's been constantly dealt bad cards this
Yeah,
entire
just-
life, and it's
Yeah, just bad situation after bad situation happens to him in this game, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to watch.
because he's just such a good guy. And it's-
Yeah. One of my favorite moments is actually the intro of Harry Osborn, where he goes in and he confiscates Doc Ock's stuff.
Norman Osborn, you mean?
Yeah, Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
I keep confusing names this entire episode. They like that scene. Like, it's clear. The joke of like Harry, Peter, how long have we known each other? It's Mr. Mayor, and he's like, no, I'm just kidding. It's Norman. Like, I thought that was really well done. And I liked that they made Norman Osborn more ambiguous in this, because usually he's sort of like a cartoon bad
Yep.
guy. Whereas, like, he's really complex. And you can tell that, like, there's, like, he cares about his son quite a bit. And
he wouldn't be doing this whole thing if he didn't.
And like the reason the Devil's Breath exists is to try to cure Harry.
That's why when Doc Ock takes it, he's always like, "No, please, I have to save him," or something like that. He doesn't say him, but he's like, "No, please." You can tell there's a reason why it exists.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because most portrayals I've seen of Norman Osborn has been like he hates his son and he hates.
Yeah. And like they talk in the game they talk about like how Norman never listens to Harry and like all that stuff, whereas like you can tell that there's some genuine love there.
Yeah.
And
based on the end,
and honestly when you're exploring his house and the Mary Jane sequence, you can tell that
the
he's
whole
like,
lab is hidden behind a portrait of him and Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's like
just a callback to the Rain.
Yeah.
Films.
And it's
me.
It'd be so dumb. I love it, but it's so dumb.
I love those movies. Favorite movies.
I'm shaking my head.
It's okay. You gotta dig at me the last time, so I had to.
It's and like I'm just like trying to think of a bad scene in that movie in that game, and
there really isn't one. I think it briefly slows down a little bit in the second act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think their mission with Scorpion, where Peter's poisoned, is a little.
It goes a
unnecessary.
little.
That was
too
so
long.
Arkham. That was when the moment I'm like, this is becoming Arkham.
There's a moment where Peter's poisoned by Scorpion, and it's essentially just the Scarecrow Batman scenes.
Him getting to the antidotes and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That is exactly
it. Arkham.
That is exactly it. Arkham,
He does wake up in his underwear though,
and you can get that costume once you 100% the game.
one of the great things in the Arkham games, Ezra, especially in Arkham Asylum, is actually just in the Arkham games in general is the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
His mission in
portraying.
I really the first time I played Arkham Asylum, I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
Is he played by Cillian Murphy?
No. Cillian Murphy doesn't even know what a video game is.
I'm sure, but still, I would have liked. I just want more Cillian Murphy in my
He's
life.
great. I love Cillian Murphy. Anyway, we need to wrap this up.
Yeah,
This is going on a long time.
Yeah,
really long.
Play Spider-Man PS4.
It's honestly, I think it's worth buying a PS4 for.
You know, I might even though it's spoiled for it, I might just buy it just for the gameplay. Just
discount PS4. Don't buy a PS4
There
Pro.
was a Black Friday deal for $200 with the Spider-Man PS4 in the game. I would have bought that for the game.
Also, I mean, what PS4 already has enough great exclusive games that it's worth the price anyway. Just go ahead and
just a forewarning though, it's probably going to become obsolete 2 years from now.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm saying if you're gonna get a PS4 now, get it like used
get it cheap
from or something like don't buy it straight up.
At this point, save your money mostly for 5 and.
I would say wait a year.
I still think there's some great games for PS4.
We'll talk about this specific topic at another time. But
worth at least somehow renting or something.
Or just find a way to experience the story, because it's legitimately, like, I'm not kidding, one of my favorite Spider-Man pieces of anything ever. So, and I haven't seen that much Spider-Man, but so that's the 10th episode of the Cate-Cast.
10th episode.
It's
been an interesting, eventful.
Interesting episode.
Yeah, very interesting episode. Sire, we're gonna have to rely on you to.
No, I'll find a way to piece it together somehow.
Make sure you do those sound effects. So it's not as jarring.
I will. I'm going to be editing this till about 1 in the morning. I'll find a way.
You can find us on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes,
Google Play,
who cares about Google Play?
Spotify.
And Spotify. Has anybody confirmed that the Spotify stuff actually works?
It does. I checked it. It
does?
just takes a while to load.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sounds about right.
This podcast usually ends up first for some reason on Google Play, and then usually Spotify. It's always last on YouTube just because Podbean's always so weird with it.
Yeah.
But,
it's got to get through that algorithm.
Yeah, and then Twitter, because of the backwards way Twitter is, we're at CastCata, so at CASTCATE. It's capital C's for both. Yeah.
Tweet at us. Tell us if you want us to see us on another platform. Any topics you want us to hear or talk about it, and spread to your friends because we need viewers.
Oh yeah.
Caleb, got anything to plug?
We had to have you on this time.
Oh
yeah.
We had to.
We were talking. We have like a weird meeting thing because we all work together at a point, and we were talking, and we were saying like, I mentioned having you on for another episode before we leave for this semester, and they were like, maybe we should have him on to talk about Spider-Man, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
Completely finished the game over the weekend, so it's all fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
So
thanks
for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoyed being on here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on a few more times.
Oh yeah,
and next semester as well. So, just to reiterate, we are down to, after this one, our last 2 episodes before we take about a 6-week break. So
probably more like 7 weeks.
Yeah,
we're two episodes away from the mid-season finale.
Yeah, well, 1 episode away from the mid-season finale.
Yeah, that's true.
We're 2 episodes away because
we have next.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. After this one, we're 1 episode.
We're at the mid-season finale.
We're gonna try to find a way to keep getting people stuff. Yeah. We'll talk about that at some point.
So should we reveal what our comeback episode, the mid-season premiere, will be of?
We should set that in stone before we, because we haven't set anything in stone yet.
Regardless, within the two episodes,
it will be Star Wars. Yeah. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, it'll be a Star Wars special. I mean, we've talked. It's not like we haven't talked about Star Wars enough.
We've talked a lot about Star Wars, but it will be like the Star Wars, like the way that we did Marvel.
It'll be what we did with Marvel, but with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have a guest.
You should almost have like a panel of guests, like
we'll have some people. And spoilers.
That's not the worst idea. We will announce it once we have more plans.
Yeah. And we should do a DC Comics special.
We should.
Fair.
Somebody's gonna have to die first.
I mean, DC people already have. So.
Oh no. We have to do it.
Man, that sounds really bad. And we'll do a DC Comics special at some point. Maybe around maybe.
We'll find time.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe somebody will see Aquaman, and that's our excuse. In any case, are you gonna see?
I'll see it. I'm gonna see it.
I'm going to see it maybe a week early.
I'll go see it.
Because of the
Amazon Prime thing, which is what I might do.
What? Oh, sorry.
We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards.
So, thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Bye.